All right, y'all. Welcome to All Politics Local, America's number one political hip hop radio talk show. Y'all know if it's Friday, y'all know it's time for All Politics Local. But more importantly, y'all know if it is the third Friday, it's time for the Mayor's Forum with our beloved brother, Mayor Raz J. Baraka. So we'll await for our brother to join us. But up until that point, after the Mayor's Forum, who we have coming on Zaire 7?
Seven, we are supposed to have at last. Let me get emotional with this. Dhouruba Bin Wahad. You know, Dhouruba has been through a lot in this great and mighty walk. This is October is now considered Black Panther History Month. And we're having Dhouruba and T.J. Whitaker, one of his prize cubs, on to lift up the Black Panther Party's legacy and why that legacy matters for this particular day. But Dhouruba lives out of the country and has a number of challenges, as many do in his position in history and age, right? That has made it hard for me. I've been wanting to get Dhouruba on the show since I've been on it because Dhouruba is just huge to me. I'm one of his cubs, right? So we're hoping that this tech issues that we're working on can work out, and we can finally have one of the best minds and one of the bravest Black men to walk through the ranks of the Black Panther Party with us for our 7 o'clock segment. 7:45. October 22nd is the National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. We've got players who will be involved in actions all over the country for a little roundtable we're going to do at 7:45. Folks in Cali, folks from Ohio, and folks here from New York and New Jersey. So we're looking forward to that. And at 8:15, we're supposed to have we're supposed to have the chairperson of the Black Organization of Students Alumni Association. I don't know this young man, Edward Nkosi. Now I'm a boss alumni. I ain't heard from little brother. I want to see what he got, Frazier's language. So we're going to look forward to that too. And of course, after that, DJ Rhino and all things in the land of hip hop. So it's a full night. It's definitely a full night.
Indeed, my brother. So while we wait for the mayor, Zaid, let's talk a little bit about what's going on. With what sort of looks like folks are trying to put off on what's happening with the election by everybody continuing to say, what's happening with black men, as though if Harris doesn't win, it's somehow going to be black men's fault, right? By saying that that black men are not going to come out to vote for. But what it looks like to me is that the majority of the brothers that I'm talking to, that were on the fence, 3 weeks out, they've already made up their mind, right? And most of them are saying that whatever disagreements they've had or that they may have, that they recognize that Trump is definitely not good for the future of black folks in this country, especially based around that whole idea of 2025, that document in terms of dialing us back as opposed to us going forward. No matter what he says around, what is that? He had some legislation that he put out there for the what was it, the second chance program that he had, where he let out a couple of people, and of course, Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick was let out of jail based around that as well. So, but most of the brothers I'm talking to, that's what I'm hearing. What are you hearing?
Well, I'm gonna say this first. I'm gonna say this: if Kamala does not win the election, it's easy to blame the oppressed, right? It's easy to do that, right? If Kamala Harris loses that election, the Democratic Party needs to look at where they failed. And the Democratic Party does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Biden administration has us all living in live color with a genocide that is destroying what's left of the so-called American image in the international community, and is alienating the hell out of people who would be naturally inclined to vote for, who may not vote for. And I ain't talking about black men. I'm talking about those young people who are protesting at college campuses, who have been attacked by the police, by college police in New York City, by Mr. Eric Adams, who weaponized the police with his last police chief before he got canned by the Justice Department. Made chickens come home loose, right?
Mm-hmm.
A whole wave of immigrant communities, majority Muslim primarily, some Palestinian, but other nationalities, right, who were primed to really become a part of something to support and be behind people like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, right? But who will now not do that because of what's happening with this particular genocide. So if they lose, they got to deal with some of that. And I think Mayor's coming on now.
Yeah, peace, Mayor. Peace, Mayor. Can you hear us?
What's going on?
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go.
Peace. I can hear you a little bit. You get is bad service?
Well, we can hear you. We hear you now.
Can you hear us okay? I think he's having trouble hearing us.
Can you hear
Can
us?
you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can't hear you guys that good.
Okay.
Go out and come back in, right? And see if you do get a little better connect. He probably didn't hear that. Right.
Did you hear that? Zaid said, "Go out and come back in."
There you go. There you go. Yeah. We look forward to. He's got plenty to talk about. He's got a big event coming up that we definitely need to talk about. That he's trying to bring statewide. That's important because how it's built out right here in Newark, and that's reimagining public safety. So make sure we lift that up when we do get him back.
And when is that going to be happening?
Next Saturday.
Okay.
Next Saturday at the Ashby Center.
Okay.
Next Saturday. So that's something really to look forward to.
Okay.
There he is. How we do? Can you hear us now? How you doing?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you go. There you go.
So peace, man. I know whatever you want to talk about, but Zaid was just, we were talking about a moment ago because I was listening to Brother Jelani Cobb, and he was saying that, with all this negative talk that's going around, where they're trying to blame the brothers if Kamala Harris don't win, and he was saying we need to tap that down because he's saying that brothers are going to vote for her, right?
That's right.
And that's not going to happen. So we don't want all these other folks to try to put that off on us if they don't come out. Particularly, he said white women, right? And so he was saying that we need to change that dialogue and change that conversation in our community so that we can encourage our brothers to vote as opposed to saying they're not going to vote.
Well, that's what I've been doing. I'm supposed to go to Pittsburgh on Sunday. I went to Atlantic City and spoke down there. Supposed to go to Pittsburgh on Sunday to do a repeat of that. I went to Atlantic City. They asked me to come to Pittsburgh after that. So I'm going to go to Pittsburgh because I just think it's silly. We listen to anything these people come up with, man.
Yeah.
We the second most consistent. I mean, they want to blame somebody. The problem is white people don't vote for Democrats. They're not voting for Democrats the way they were. And that's really what it is. And if we didn't come out in the numbers that we came out in, they wouldn't win nothing. That's the reality of it. Like, we're not responsible.
Those are the who concur.
Right. We ain't responsible for what these people are not doing. They got to step up. And it's the same thing with most things. They always come to our community and try to organize our community to do something when we got that covered. We got that covered. Y'all go do what you're supposed to do and get them people out to vote. Right. We got this part covered. Right. And we're going to make sure, at the end of the day, like, we're not crazy. I mean, it's at least the majority of us ain't. I mean,
right.
We, even if we upset about it and we don't like it completely, we're going to go do what we got to do.
Right.
Because we know what the outcome is ultimately. We know what it is ultimately.
Right.
We not. Yeah. That's really what it is. And I was listening to this crazy Don Lemon, man. He's one of the ones that started all this foolishness, man.
Oh wow.
He called one of the reporters and was like, "Oh, Kamala Harris got a problem with she's gonna have a problem with black men," because he went around and interviewed a couple. And I was sitting there talking to somebody. I said, "He interviewed who? 10 people?
Yeah.
50? 100? Even if he interviewed 50 people, I mean, that sample size in comparison to what's going on is nothing. Of course, you can interview a bunch of people and find out problems that people have with folks."
He trying to get a job because he got kicked off.
Yeah. I was like, why is he doing that? Like, he started that. Oh, she's gonna have a problem. Where'd that come from? Like, because you interviewed a couple of black guys. That don't even make sense to me, man. Ain't nothing scientific about any of that what he did. And he just said that.
I didn't know he started that. I didn't know it was him.
He one of the ones. He was one of the ones. Yes. He called and he was out there and he said, "Oh, Kamala's gonna have a problem with black men. She's had a problem with black men," because he interviewed a couple and they expressed their concern. Some of them may even said they ain't voting for her. But he took that and ran with it.
Wow. Because I was telling Zaid before you came on, man, a lot of the brothers I'm talking to now already made up their mind, and they said even though they got issues with Kamala, they're not stupid. They're like, yo, man, we know this man don't serve our interests, so we definitely gonna vote for the sister, no doubt.
Without question. I mean, we're not crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like no matter how they try to depict us, characterize us, or mischaracterize us, we here. You know what I mean? And we've been defending our families for a long time. So I don't, that's what I got out of all this craziness. That's why I started talking about it like that. Look, I know all kind of black men, and historically, shit, we stood with Nat Turner. We was with Harriet Tubman. We walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You know what I'm saying? We participated in the Montgomery bus boycott. We stood out there with guns on the California state legislature. We did this. You know what I mean? There's no evidence in history that we ran, that we laid down, that we allowed this thing to happen the way it happened. That's just not the truth. And we can't allow them to create a narrative that way. I mean, that's not what we did. You know?
Years ago, we used to call that blaming the victim.
Yeah, like we always stood up.
Now let me throw this into the conversation though, because you need to be heard on this, right? And this conversation, it's a hard conversation. I said and the thing the Democratic Party got to worry about is the degree to which there is going to be a voter fallout behind Gaza.
Does that mean?
And that's a hard conversation, right? So what's your take on what needs to happen? Did we lose him?
Man, did you freeze? Yeah, I think he froze. Man, did you hear that? Did you?
No, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it.
Say it again.
I was raising the question. There's a concern that the Democratic Party needs to be concerned about in terms of voter turnout. There's a question of the fallout around Gaza. There's a whole lot of folks who would be naturally inclined to vote for Kamala and the party that may not, because of the way Gaza has been handled, and the fact that this government is arming Israel to the teeth. That's the real challenge as far as I'm concerned. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is a challenge. I mean, obviously, and I think she's been trying to provide a little balance, more than them other people have been, but it is a challenge. There are people who are going to stay home because they think that, obviously, what's going on over there is atrocious. And even after they finally assassinated the leader of Hamas, this guy ain't slowed down one bit. I mean, so at the end of the day, people are going to be upset about that. That's really a concern that they have, that they should be talking about. And just the normal, the normal folks that are going to stay home are going to, all these independents and these other folks that are not going to do it simply because it's Kamala Harris. That's what they should be doubling down there. They got us going into these. I mean, obviously we need to raise the turnout in our community, make it as high as possible. We're gonna have to do that to beat the cheat. We gotta raise the number of people voting, and I get it, and that's why I'm gonna go help out and get as many people out as we can. But ultimately, and the only reason we have to double down like that because we're just not sure in the other areas.
Yeah. Well, you alluded to something that that folks need to hear you break down. Beat the cheat. And I know you're talking about voter suppression, but folks need to hear Mayor Baraka talk about the spectacle of voter suppression that we're facing.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, you got places like Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia, dropping people from the rolls who they just can make up and say they're not inconsistent voters and just drop them from the rolls. You got all kind of stuff like that happening, to make sure that people aren't voting. You got the Republican.
He just went out. Oh, we getting into the juice and
as we speak.
There you go. He's back.
Right. They got they got all these folks trying to stop us from voting all over the country, preventing mail-in ballots, dropping people from the rolls, all of this stuff. And, that kind of voter suppression, which is very prevalent now and is happening rampantly across this country, and it's really happening quietly. Like there's some people talking about it, but the major news media is not bringing up like they should, the fact that this stuff is going on.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, the major media needs to be talking about the critical issues. We don't mention one with the fallout on Gaza. Voter suppression, you don't hear that at all, hardly, right? And then let us remember, reproductive rights. Women's lives are literally on the line, right? And they say they're pro-life, and then everybody is saying it's all right for Israel to kill all these children, there's some stuff to talk about that's not being addressed 100%.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of things that are not being addressed, but they control the airwaves. And I just had a discussion with Rachel Nordlinger today about how the Black press is struggling for resources and kind of waning out. There's not we just not as strong as we used to be, providing an alternative voice and an alternative analysis to what's happening. So most people are taking news from main sources or internet bloggers who are trying to fill in the gap. We just don't have the same kind of strength, with the Black press and with alternative media as we did. It's just not there. We could at least go get another paper and listen to somebody else's point of view that was closer to ours that we trusted, as opposed to, having to sift through and differentiate between what's good and what's bad and what's real and what's not real, what's propaganda and what's factual information. I mean, it's difficult for us to get that information. So, you're just not getting all of what you need out here, which is why the surrogates and all these other people become important. But I give it to like a lot of folks around the country, Black mayors and other folks. These guys are stepping up to the plate, like Jelani, and getting in a gap and just challenging all of this stuff that these people are saying.
Yep, that's why.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's why I appreciated Jelani doing what he did. The other night, man, when he was on Joy Reid, and I was like, "Yo, man, see, that's what has to be said in terms of that." And one of the things is that because all of this stuff is being said about the brothers, one of the things that is not being talked about is that Harris is actually making some moves based around some policies that are actually going to benefit the brothers, benefit our community, right? And we need to be talking about that. And that was one of the things that he was discussing as well. He was saying that, with all of this talk, it's causing folks in that camp, particularly Harris, to move toward putting together some legislation and some policies that are going to directly help Black men and improve our condition in this country. right? But we've got to get to the point where we're having a different kind of conversation because these folks are trying, like you said it. I mean, they control the media and they control the conversation. And you already know, man. I was reading somewhere where they were saying that they're also controlling the messaging that's going out on Facebook, that's going out on
Yeah.
YouTube. They controlling all of that at this
Well,
point.
they had to, because when Kamala
I'm in Facebook recovery.
Kamala started getting the momentum after the announcement in the DNC, she had the momentum for a minute. So they had to control that. They dived on them airwaves and the social media and drove her back on the defensive. That's really what the plan was, to have Trump kind of dominate the airwaves and put her on the defensive, which has been a strategy since that DNC.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Go ahead, Zaid.
No, I was just that's one of the things that I wanted to. I just want to interject. You mentioned Rachel Norton, that she's the publicist for the National Action Network. Folks know who. I just wanted folks to know who she was. I want you to now listen. I got an email today from daughter, right, about October 26th.
Right.
We got to
Yeah.
lift that up because that's
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
that's having national impact that we need to now spread out through the state. And I got some players I think you may want to include in that. But tell us about October 26th.
Yeah, we trying to do a statewide convening of all these CBI organizations and folks that are doing this work. Get some other people in the room, some elected, some other folks, to let them know that this has to be a statewide strategy, and that they need to begin giving resources to these organizations and these people doing this work. They begin to pivot in the way they've been normally handling things, and you can see the kind of effect that it's had around the country. People are talking about violence has been low around the country. What they have not said is that everybody is talking to each other and are employing these alternative kind of CBI strategies all over the country, which is affecting violence and crime throughout the country. And it's not anything really that these other folks are doing besides following that and doing intelligence-based policing. But these community-based organizations are having an incredible impact all over the country. And it makes no sense that the largest city in the state of New Jersey has begun to navigate this thing and figure some things out. And we're not allowing that to be duplicated from city to city and have a statewide strategy that's fully committed to that. Not like halfway committed to it, but fully committed, both feet in and saying, this is what we want to do. This is what we need to do, to reduce violence all over the state and communities where our folks are suffering. We need to do that.
Yeah, 100%. Let me give you some spaces to build on it. I think you'd be happy to hear. One is, as soon as the email came out, Raquel Romans Henry from Salvation and Social Justice, that we want in because they have developed a street team and a CVI strategy, and they're doing well with it in Trenton. In fact, just a couple of days ago, I testified before the Assembly's Health Committee around the Medicaid support bill for hospital-based violence intervention, and one of their persons came right behind me, and she blew it out the water. And I thought I knew all of the Salvation and Social Justice team, and my niece is a part of that, right? But they've got they're covering most of the bases. They got high risk, they got the community-based stuff. They've got a strong lobbying team, right? They've got good lobbying capacity, right? And they're right there in Trenton, in the state's capital, and then it definitely needs to be heard and appreciated in the state's capital. Second, we do have a statewide coalition of violence intervention programs.
Right.
The Violence Intervention and Prevention Program, and we drove the governor to sign the Seabrooks Washington bill. So we got some things in place to definitely build on, so we can definitely make that play for real.
Yeah, we gotta push it all the way through. I mean, because really what this is, when people say Black Lives Matter, this is really what that means. I mean, when you start talking about public health and the amount of excess deaths that happen in our community from gun violence in our communities, it is way beyond epidemic proportions. And nobody has really responded to it in a long time. It took a long time to get us to this point where there's been at least some interest in beginning to treat this as public health. When you see all of these brothers and sisters now dying from gun violence in their community, that this obviously is something larger and deeper that we need to put some real resources behind trying to figure out and ending, altogether. And it just has not happened. And now that people are talking about it, I think we need to, double down, exploit it, push it, make sure that we get everything we need out of this while the iron is still hot.
And this is another piece, right? Across the racial divide, the number one cause of death amongst young people in this country across racial lines is what? It's gun violence.
Right.
So
Gun violence.
everybody need to be in this conversation, right?
Without question.
Yeah. And we do have some allies who do understand that and are doing some good things.
Cool.
Jersey also that there are some places to build on, but yeah, we got to build it out. 100%. We definitely got to build it out. I was also pleased to we're trying to cultivate some health spaces, right, that are trying to adjust their lens in this. Black and brown mental health providers, right, who not necessarily in the field with us here, but they need that conversation. The Alliance for Anti-Racist Mental Health had a one-day conference the other day called Decolonizing Mental Health. Very strong stuff.
Right.
It represented the need for within their ranks to shift the limitations of the institutional baggage that to their thinking or their previous way of thinking does not allow them to have the candid, culturally competent embrace and approaches to doing their work that they would probably naturally be inclined to do. But those conversations in those spaces are starting to happen. What I am concerned about, well, on the same point, is that the racial divide is still real. That amongst institutional spaces that are predominantly white-led, some of them hear us and get it, and some don't because they don't know how to see themselves in it. And so there's work to be done, to be sure. So we're really looking forward to this because it really needs to go in a number of places to help build this out.
No, I agree with that. That's right. That's right. And this is an opportunity to begin to shift, a big shift around how we address violence and all of the social determinants of health. Because once you begin to look at it as public health, now you're beginning to look at all the other factors that lead to this, whether it's housing or poverty and, access to health care and child care and all these other kind of things, so all of this stuff is connected and you begin to create larger policy to kind of address the root causes of these issues in the first place. When first you admit that it's public health and start to deal with trauma and the social determinants of these things. We got a whole group of people that try to respond to trauma and respond to the negative social determinants of health, but changing those conditions is a larger piece that we have to make a connection to. So the policy that we are supporting, helps us to get rid of these things in the first place. I've been taking Kamala Harris's word, opportunity economy, and defining what that means for me and for us around here. What is an opportunity economy? What does that look like? What does that mean for us when we say opportunity economy? And it's important for us to talk about, because they take what we say and define it for us, and then we catch ourselves defending ourselves or running from the words that we came up with. Like we running around trying to defend ourselves because we said we was woke. I mean, which is really silly to me. But at the end of the day, if you ain't woke, then how you even participating in anything? But at the end of the day, opportunity economy means that we have an economy that benefits all of us, working families, beyond nationality, zip code, all of the folks in our community, working class folks in our cities need to be benefiting from this economy one way or another. And if we not benefiting from it, it's certainly not an opportunity economy. It's an exclusive one and not an inclusive one. And we need to be talking about what an inclusive economy looks like for all of us. How do we build an inclusive economy that gives everybody the opportunity to participate in it?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I want to go back to when we're talking about, that conference that's going to come up in October 26th. And, we just had the 29th anniversary of the Million Man March that just passed on the 16th. And y'all remember, we all went to DC, and what was happening in DC, we came together because it was about the violence, the gangs, and everything that was going on in our community. That's right. Remember that? And we came together, and it was, what did Farrakhan call it? He called it atonement, right? Where we were coming together to atone. And what's interesting to me, man, when you talk about the state going all in, I thought they had created a state version of the Office of Violence and Prevention and Trauma. I thought the state did that. What happened with that?
They do have an Office of Violence Prevention, right? I mean, they can create all kind of stuff. Like there's all kind of laws that are not being executed by that are being violated, that not be carried out. Right. I mean, that's why we need to do this, because they've taken a step. Now we have to push them to the next step.
Right.
We got to push it further. I mean, by them saying we got an Office of Violence Prevention, now we need to be telling them what that office need to be doing.
Right.
And you have money where it needs to be going, and we need to have this amount of money sent to communities and how that needs to work, and begin to talk to police departments and law enforcement agencies about what their role and responsibility is in dealing with CVI organizations. They need to formalize all of this stuff and not do it simply for show.
Right. Right. But I sort of thought that when they did that, man, I thought they were going to call you in and, call Keisha in and say,
now, why would they do that?
I thought that was going to happen, brother. I was like,
to the credit of the person they got running it, he has been coming around and talking to people, and I think he's conversed with Keisha and some other folks too, so forth and so on. The people that they got in charge of it, because they know clearly that this is new water for them, a new frontier, and they have to, find out and figure out how to get into this space and operate properly.
Wow. One of the things. Go ahead, Ray. I'm sorry.
See, part of the issue is that they're not close to the problem, so they don't even know how to begin to solve it. They don't even know the problem exists. They just began to identify and recognize it yesterday. You understand what I'm saying? So they're trying to figure out, what it is. And so that's why we put people in these state offices. We expect them to do stuff, but they don't even know you exist. How can they solve a problem they don't know is going on, right? Or help people they haven't even identified yet. They don't even see you. So how they, the circles and groups that they with, they're not with these people. How many people they know are coming home from incarceration, don't have a driver's license, trying to find a place to live and can't, being rejected from these situations? Like how many women do they know who can't get child care, got their oldest son watching the 7-year-old and the 8-year-old while they go to work and something tragic happens in their life, right? Or individual who grew up in a household that has been cycles of violence and cycles of trauma that now grew up in a community that feeds that trauma and now reacts and responds and don't know how to get themselves out of those conditions or situations. I mean, they don't even know the people that go through these problems. They don't even have a remote understanding of what these problems look like, right? Or what a person is feeling, or a guy they met that's been shot multiple times that finds his way into University Hospital and is on his last leg trying to figure out what to do or what to say, and around people feel like he's got to retaliate in order to come back out on the street and preserve his manhood. He got to retaliate somehow. They don't know what those situations are. or you go home at night and your project has been raided and they lock your father, your uncle, your cousin up, and your mother don't have any way to pay the rent or the bills because all of that is done. And now you stuck out there in the middle of all of that and nobody is talking to you, helping you go through the trauma, and they send you back to school Monday morning. And this happened on a Saturday. And you going to school to, 2 days later, and you could barely pay your rent or your heat bill, and your mother sent you to school, and you full of frustration and anger, and you get in a fight in the hallway.
Yep.
They don't know what this is about. They don't even know how to begin to address that.
Yep.
And so they need more than they want to admit, these organizations and these folks and these communities to respond to trauma that these conditions have created over and over and over and over again. And even good-willed or good-intentioned folk down there that are trying to do the right thing don't really know what the problem is. So they can't even come up with solutions that are remotely close to trying to figure out how to solve these issues. They just can't. Wow. They're not equipped.
Wow.
They're just not equipped to do that. They're not skilled to do that. They're just not. And you need the best people. They going to the foot doctor for diabetes. You know what I'm saying? Wow. You need specialists in these areas who've dealt with this stuff, man, and get them involved.
You need to be able to listen. My God, you need to be able to listen. Something we're trying to do with your friend, the Attorney General.
These guys are really careerists, honestly, man. And some of them are they good-minded, they liberal-minded, they want to do the right thing, but they're careerists, right? And so careerists are always worried about their career goals and their outcomes. And if it don't happen the way that, that's really what's going to happen. And anything that's too risky, they just not going to jump in.
Man, when you idea it like that, I think about what you and Lauren was doing when you were the principal at Central, man, when you were doing community school. And I remember Lauren telling me one time, she said that, one of the things that y'all were able to recognize when you were the principal was when, going with what you just said, they don't even know what's going on with, these kids that may have been traumatized in their house. But she pointed out when you were the principal, she said that y'all were able to find out that kids were in the back of the room who were failing, weren't necessarily failing because they couldn't do the work. They were failing because they couldn't see the damn board. And they needed glasses, right?
Right.
And why test scores go up so much at Central? Why did y'all have such success with that? Because y'all were recognizing what the problems were.
Yes.
Right. Again, and listening, like Raid said, listening to people, listening to families, talking to people, inviting the community into the school. All of that stuff is like, you can't, kids, you ain't given them the opportunity to even take the course that they need to pass the test. Of course, they're going to fail it.
Right.
Right. And so how do you make sure they got even the courses that they need in there? Right. And not automatically think they're going to fail. Right. Or giving them a place to be able to actually study at in the building so they could, and not throw them all out at 3 o'clock.
Right.
That the building becomes the hangout.
Yeah.
Right. That I'd rather them kids ain't leave Central till like 9 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Wow.
I'd rather them hang out in the building.
Yes.
In the foyer. Yeah. Where's people in there, folks securing them, they safe, all of that. Then out in the street hanging out and get an opportunity to do some of the work that they need to do at the same time. So that's why those community school model works. You turn the building into, a community center.
Right.
That teaches, that's an educational institution at the same time, but it's really is a community center. Like everybody can use it. Pop Warner is in there after school. People having their block association meetings in there. You got a nursery going on in there. You got after school programs happening there. You got ESL learning, adult education. all of those things. So the building converts into a community place after a certain time.
That's what I hear, man. Right? Like when when you espousing that, and you sort of say that these people, they don't necessarily, they got the office, they got the position, they got the money, but the problem is they don't know how to really answer the call of solving the problems of the very people that they claim to be running this office for. Right?
Well,
And so I'm hoping that the 26 is going to shed that kind of light, and that they're going to, finally decide to fund those organizations to the point where these people, as you just said, man, as well as Zaid, that's closest to the ground, can finally get funded. Because, a lot of these brothers and sisters, and I've seen this in New York with Tamika and my son, a lot of those organizations were on the ground. They were doing that, but they were not being funded.
yeah. And the real issue, even nationally, the real issue is even it's like everybody got like an office of violence prevention at this point. Name something else. You got these CVI organizations working, but there's a huge gap between them and the city. Like the cities that they working in, they're not working in conjunction with the cities, and all the organizations that exist are not working together either. Right.
Yes.
And so that has to change very specifically. And there has to be like a model around what that looks like, and the state has got to be involved in that. There's some places that ain't gonna have the state because the state people is crazy, but at the end of the day, locally they should be able to try to put some kind of structure together. And since we have opportunity here in New Jersey, we ought to be able to perfect it in such a way that we can now package it to go around the nation.
Oh yeah.
That's why I'm proud of salvation and social justice and what they did, because they started from a church base, which is not a space where you can see that. But a black church with a clear mission, right, can do a lot of things beyond Sunday, right? And Reverend Charles Boyer is one of those who clearly understands that, because he's an activist minister and he saw what we were doing, and he said right here in Trenton, he said, let's figure this out for ourselves. Or use it from a black faith perspective, and they're seeing results already. So and that's a good example of the local character. This is all politics and local, y'all. The local character of how these things definitely have to begin to build themselves out in a way that's organic to the community that they're in.
Yeah. But I think what was dope though, man, is that and so as we talk about that, I mean, when the Office of Violence Prevention and Trauma was created, and you created that level of synergy with all of the street organizations and that level of peace and young brothers and sisters working together, that was ingenious, man. That was ingenious, right? Because everybody's able to move, in one smooth swoop, and everybody know at the same time everything that's going on, and nobody's working against each other. Everybody working together, right?
Right. At least you create a platform where people can have discussions, even if they have disagreements. A platform where they could begin to work together, and we could begin to have a focused deterrent, and not just like have this kind of disparate stuff that's happening all over the city, but begin to focus our energy in places where we need it the most, right? And bounce ideas off each other, and support each other around the work. Because what you're trying to do is heavy, and you're not going to be able to lift this stuff by yourself. You need assistance to lift these things, because it's heavy work.
Yeah, that's
what's meant by the. I'm sorry, but that's what's meant by the driving and the creation of this thing called an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Coordination, the working together, the collaboration that's necessary to make things really work to their full optimum.
That's right. You got and every one thing depends on the other, right? And that's what people have to do. Unity and struggle, brother. People got to figure out how to create a space where that takes place. I mean, if the police could get together and have ComStat, it does not make any sense why community organizations can't get together and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And begin to talk about the issues that we're having and how we collectively work together.
Yeah. That is funny, man, because that model is something we can use to do political education, right?
Oh, yeah.
To educate our people around voting, because we've never been, as Dr. Carr says, every time I talk to him, he always says, the real issue, man, is that we just have low information, right? If we could just get better information, like we were talking about, even about this election, if we could just get better information, we can make better decisions, right? And I think that model that you have, that was created here in Newark with the Office of Violence and Prevention, we can use that same kind of model to create political education classes to educate our people, man, so that they understand and know what the truth is based around voting, based around policy, based around, local politics, and how that really, really works in the community. Because we really don't have a clue, man. We just don't. And
Yeah,
that's
the brother. Yeah, the brother from Detroit was here today. Keisha brought him to my office, and he was talking about how they doing the violence intervention work, but they also be registering people to vote. And I thought that was advanced. And I told him he should tell Keisha, you should tell him to talk to our guys about that, because we don't understand, the importance of, political organizing, and not just voting, but political organizing and politics, period. Like, you can't have politics without economics, and economics without politics, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, we fighting to do all this stuff, but the political space is what protects your ability to do the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have control over that, you can't sustain what you're doing, because somebody is going to come take it away.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Keisha had Keisha had Pat and me speak to them yesterday to that effect. So we did try to, and that I was getting that, I wanted that to land more on our folks as much as I wanted to land our folks in Baltimore and Detroit. But they all definitely appreciate it, because that's important to how this stuff is going to develop and sustain itself.
Yeah. You got to have political power. You ain't even got a chance to do none of this stuff except for the right people in there helping you make it happen.
That's right.
Yeah.
And somebody can come and reverse all of this in one fell swoop. If you don't institutionalize it and fight for it, it can't be based on individuals.
Yep. Me and Bashir was having this conversation yesterday, man, and we were talking about, when you would come back from school, and whenever there was an issue, we'd organize and we'd take it down to City Hall, and because we understood that it was about organizing, and now, like you talking about institutionalizing. The thing is, man, is that at the end of the day, we've got to understand that one of the reasons in my mind, and Zaida, and Donna, y'all can speak for yourself. I think that the reason why Newark is the model it is, for one, is because who our mayor is. That's one. But two, I think it is because of folks have finally gotten to the point in our city where we know what leadership looks like and how police are supposed to treat the citizens, right? I mean, and if we didn't have political power, I mean, hell, we'd still be catching the same hell from the police that everybody else catch around the country. But we don't catch it. And that is because if that was happening, and most folks in the city of Newark, whether they admit it or not, man, they know goddamn well if something like that got out of control with the Office of Violence and Prevention and all of us, they know damn well we'd be in the mayor's office like, yo, mayor, we need to talk. Somebody done bust us upside our head, brother. We were just trying to organize.
Right, 100%.
Right.
Well, you ain't have to come to the office for that, because something's gonna happen. But at the end of the day,
right.
At the end of the day, that's true. And I think the professionalism of what happened, what's going on with what Keisha and everybody else is organizing and is going on in the city, is making it difficult for traditional institutions and organizations to completely be opposed and against it.
Right.
Right. It's professional. There's outcomes. There are results. Is data involved? You got Rutgers involved. You got all these people involved. It's just they don't have the authority to just come in and dismiss it. right? Because we've set it up in such a way where it's professionalized and people have to take it seriously and not like as some passing thing, you know.
Right.
And because and what you said, because there's political power, you got political power around it
Right.
to protect the stuff that's going on. Hell, Keisha is the deputy mayor, so at the end of the day, like to give people protection around the things that we're doing in this community, that's not going to easily come and harm people
Right.
without repercussion.
That's right. That's right. And that's one of the conversations, man, you know, I have in some legal circles all the time. You know, when folks are talking, that's, you know, the difference is, you know, they have all this negative talk about Newark. But the truth is that, you know, if you came to Newark, you safer in Newark than some other places you ever gonna go to, especially when it comes to our police. Cause y'all having that bullshit conversation about, oh, Newark this, Newark that. But let me tell y'all something. Our city is what it is because of the leadership we have, right? And that is why, man, you know, and I'm saying this to you as my brother, that is why them folks on that governor stage with you don't ever want to put you in front of no cameras, man, because they know they don't have that kind of conversation. And then the other thing is they really don't have that pedigree. They don't have that organized in a street pedigree to be able to talk to it, because it goes back to what you just said. They're not on the ground. None of these cats have ever been on the ground, and none of them have ever lived your life, right?
Right. No.
And they
Right.
damn sure didn't run to no chicken spot on Clinton Avenue to get no chicken for their mother and father or the rest of the
No.
family. So
No.
they can't relate to that. You know,
And risk
because
lives
man,
doing it.
I remember when you said how you know, Bobby used to send you to get some chicken. Wasn't no goddamn Geno's or Kentucky Fried Chicken. It was up the block there somewhere to get some
Yeah.
chicken.
Yeah. Tom's Chicken Shop.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They can't relate to that, right? They don't even know what that is.
Yeah. No.
Right.
No. You're talking
So
about a different group of people,
right.
and the stuff. We deal with real problems here, man. We got real issues in this town.
Right.
Mhm.
We got
Well,
real issues.
Mayor Baraka, governor elect soon to be. I know you have a lot on your plate, but early on, when I was elected in 2008, Rutgers Blonstein School used to do a lot of policy,
Yeah.
and even I did a certification for an elected official, and and I don't see your days slowing down. I think, but you can take some of the from the lead to the violence prevention, and um, and take it to the school, and you are the author of these policies and teach other municipalities how to think outside the box so that we can do better for our people that we represent. And I know it's a lot that you have on your plate, but I think the problem is most elected officials don't have the lived experience that you have, so that
Right.
they don't know how to write policy or their role. Like a council person should do this, a mayor does this, and everything. And that's very important because sometimes they don't learn until their time is up. So
No, I agree. I mean, at some point, I think that stuff needs to happen. A lot of people come down, like, through all these other organizations, the league, the urban mayors, different things like that, to try to talk. And we talk to each other all the time. But you're right. Like, a lot of stuff need to be codified into some kind of thing. I know I ain't got no time to do it right now, but and some of the people that's in these offices that are out here working and helping us come up with these policies, which is us which is one of the reasons why we elevated Keisha to the deputy mayor position, so she can have the ability to go around the country and do the different things she needs to do, uh, and help other people and around the state, help other people do what we're doing in the state, and really socialize what we're doing to everybody to help us get more funding, more notoriety, more opportunity, all of those things, and educating people. And it's working. So you get more people that are coming into Newark doing all kinds of stuff like that, which helps us get grants, helps us do the things that we need to do on the other side. But it also helps us save people's lives outside of the city of Newark too.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yep. Yep.
100%.
That's absolutely right. And you know, man, I want to say, man, big up to you for, elevating Keisha to the deputy mayor, right? That, I mean, that was a dope decision, man, that you made to be able to do that, take a young sister, give her that kind of position, and then give her that level of respect around the country, especially from a violence perspective, right? That's why I say again, for me, I think that, we recognize that we can't take Mayor Baraka and do some AI with the brother and just create a whole bunch of you all over the place. But we've got to find a way to be able to take this and say, if y'all want to take a look at how this thing is being done, because it is, in my mind, man, it's about unity, right? It's about us being able to unify and share our ideas. Because remember, man, we talked about this before. We don't necessarily have a black political think tank, right? We don't really have that.
Right.
And that's why us, the brothers and sisters who have figured this thing out, and I tell many all the time, like, look, man, you represent the political culture in our community. Why? Because we've got, we've been able to create a team in the city of Newark that works based around not only politics but based around the culture. Because I mean, at the end of the day, other people see things differently than what we see in the city of Newark. Right? Newark is just a different place, man. And when people say that, I remember Naughty by Nature used to say this all the time. If you ain't from this place, you need to stay the hell out of this place. I don't necessarily say that. No, you can come to this place, but
Right.
let's be clear, you ain't coming to this place to act up. That ain't gonna happen here.
And Ed, to your point, we do have a think tank. Kabori Tucker's father, former councilman Gordon Tucker, started BIC, which is a Black Issues Convention. And I know I've talked to Kabori to see if he would even step into that position and revitalize it. So we have the different tools sitting on the shelf. We just need to use them. And nobody, I mean, Kabori was there when his father was doing it. He probably know because, but when you have a vision, I don't think anybody can do it better than you yourself can do it. And that would be nice to see him step back into that position and redo or revitalize what his father created in the Black Issues Convention here in New Jersey.
I actually, Don, I'm gonna tell you something because some of us go back with the late Councilman Tucker and NJ Bick. NJ Bick was really more of an organizing body. It was a coordinating body of electors and community organizations around the state. So it really had more of an action mode than a think tank mode. But your point is well taken.
Mm-hmm.
Your point is absolutely well taken, right? We do have the tools in our community to create those kind of spaces, right? Experience tools, right? We've got a growing this whole thing. This is what we do with coming back to this whole question of reimagining public safety, right? The fact that this has to be driven by data, right? So we're
Right.
using, that kind of space in a way that traditionally, others have used in their way to talk about us, to do their thing at the expense of us, right? And to dictate toward policy toward us without including us, right? So we are in a position now, probably more than we've been in many a year, to really develop those kind of spaces locally and nationally, and it merits a real conversation.
Well, man, it's 7 o'clock, man.
Yeah.
We'll get
I gotta go, gentlemen.
Return
Yeah.
into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
all right,
I got a
man. Thank
fundraiser to go to. Thank God. I gotta go raise some money, gentlemen. Donna,
Well,
yeah.
I hope it exceeds your expectations, sir.
I appreciate it. Thank
All
y'all.
right.
You're
All
Peace,
right,
welcome.
brother.
all
All
right.
right, man. There it is, y'all. That's the mayor's forum, my brother, Mayor Baraka. So, hopefully y'all got something out of that y'all can use. And, you know,
Welcome back, Madam Donna.
I'm saying, yeah, I've been back. I'm a year older now, so now I'm finally 21.
Oh, that's right. We missed your birthday.
what's going
Yeah,
on, Donna?
not same old, but blessed to be here and happy to be back.
I got a travel mission
All
for
right,
you.
here.
I'll check it out soon.
Okay, let's just send it to me and go ahead. You got next guest is with us.
Yeah. And we should have a couple of them coming on.
Okay. I
And
gotta
this,
share.
there you go. TJ, you coming
Hey,
in?
my man, TJ Whitaker, my man. How you doing, Mr. Whitaker?
There we go.
Hey,
See, we were,
TJ.
Peace, fam. How's everybody?
yes,
Great,
Peace, brother.
sir.
great.
Peace.
The roof, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear
Yes.
you. We hear you. All right. We were worried about whether or
Oh,
not we would make this hookup work for you because we know you're on a train and that ain't easy. And we know that might
no.
go in and out. So let's
Yeah.
see.
Yeah,
If
it's
you have
never
a rise,
easy
they
when you.
usually stay.
Yeah, so, so what's taking place?
Let me just say, this is one of these segments I've been waiting for since I joined this show. This is the Dhouruba Bin Wahad, uh, legend of the Black Panther Party, Black Liberation Army, former political prisoner, all of that. One of the baddest black men I would dare say to walk through that circle, right? One of our main minds of political analysis emerging from those spaces, and somebody who, TJ and I, we were both, his two of his political clubs. As soon as he got out, we got hold of each other. We've been doing some things for a long time and trying to do them in a long, strong way on his shoulders ever since. So this is I'm really just happy to finally have you in this space with me, Dave. Right. So welcome to All Politics Are Local. Right now, while we have you, and we want to get as much out of you as we can. Right. This is October, and with the reappraisal and appreciation of the Black Panther Party from this particular generation that's out here now. October is now being called Black Panther History Month, right? Right? And TJ, your prime cover over there, is one of our best teachers of that history, in public and in community spaces, right? You have taught us all, and you continue to do that, right? The party, its legacy, right? At this particular moment, what are some of the things that you think that that we really need to appreciate in studying and appreciating and looking to learn from the legacy of the Black Panther Party?
Well, well, first of all, thank you, Zay, for having me on the program. It's the first time I had the opportunity. All politics is local. I live in Africa, so it's kind of difficult, to get on local stations and local programs sometimes. But thanks to technology, that's possible now. So I just having me on the program. To answer your question, I think we should really understand, as I pointed out last night at Seton Hall, that we're living in a historical moment. We're living in a transitional period of white supremacy as an empire in transition, in decline. We could delude ourselves into believing we have political power on the local level, but it's a delusion. It's a delusion because uh, we don't have a working class party. We don't have independent political party. We're locked into the paradigm of the white supremacist duopoly called the Democratic and Republican Party. And we need to understand that, and we need to understand that white supremacy works through proxies, and proxies are very real, not only internationally, like the United States is working through the proxy of the European settler state of Israel. It's working through proxies in New Caledonia. It's working through proxies in the Sudan, with the UAE supplying U.S. arms to the civil war in the Sudan. So we need not to delude ourselves in thinking that that we actually are exerting uh, um, um, some type of hold or direction for empire. It's a delusion, and we could persist in that because white supremacy is a delusion. And when we play into their hands and we use their paradigms of power and politics, is when we become delusional. And I said that to say that we're headed for a war. We're headed for a war that's going to have consequences in the black community, local and national. We're headed for a serious showdown of, of capitalism and the European federalist state. The last European federalist state project right now is on the burner, and that's the Zionist state of Israel. So when we have our black politicians talking about they support U.S. foreign policy, they support U.S. Intervention around the world, U.S. imperialism. When we have our local officials and local elected officials saying that, we need to understand that they're proxies, and they're going to remain proxies. And the proxies that we have, I live in Ghana, for instance, and both the NPP and the NDC party function within the context of U.S. neo-colonialism and neo-imperialism. We live in a democratic fascist society in the United States, and that's real. And so when we try to make like we don't live there, that somehow we above that we beyond that, we're delusional. And what we need to understand is that without organization, without a united front, without our own political party to exert a consequence on the system when they abuse us, when they marginalize us, when they take our tax dollars and use it to kill other Africans and other people, we don't have a party to hold us to a consequence. We don't have shit. And so I just want to say that because I've been traveling all over Europe, half of Africa, and empire is unraveling right now as we speak, and black folks are clueless. For the most part, black folks are clueless, but the white supremacists are included. They're taking over. They're taking over state educational institutions. They're demonizing our history and calling it woke. They're flipping our phrases. If we don't see the handwriting on the wall, then I feel sorry for the home team. I hate to throw water on people's parade or rain on people's parade, but it is what it is. White supremacy is not going to be voted out of power. The United States is a European settler state. It's a European settler state, and it uses reform and proxies in order to maintain its hegemony and its power over African people in the United States, and pit us against migrants, pit us against other people of color, pit us against other folks. We are in that situation. We have black faces in high places, and we have no political power. More black faces in high places since Reconstruction, and we have no political power. So I just want to say that and express that, because we could be delusional if we want to, but the empire is falling apart, and it's falling apart in the middle.
And Brother Ben,
I'm not Ben. It's Ben. My last name is Ben Wahad.
Say it again. I want to pronounce it correctly.
My last name is Ben Wahad.
Ben Wahad, brother. To your point, in New Jersey specifically, where I live at, when I was just saying early came in, there were classes to tell us what we had to do. And so that as a council person, you're not the mayor and what your job is. So I think there is a lack of information when people are in these roles, and for whatever reason, they want people to stay uneducated because then they move in the wrong manner. But I will say, I believe that you said since Reconstruction, that this is we have more brown faces in leadership. So, is there anything that you suggest that we can do that help us to be stronger advocates for our community?
Yeah, we have to take community, like you said, your program says all politics is local, and all politics is local. But when we approach the national election, we need to understand the role of institutions like the electoral college system. Why is there an electoral college system? The United States is the only so-called Western democracy that has that feature. All other Western democracies have a straight up majority rule. If you get 51% of the votes, your party is in power and has to share power with other organizations and other groups. Not so in America. Winner takes all. This is why you could have a buffoon like Donald Trump uh, um, uh, win the electoral college system, and the masses of voters, 6 million or 5 million voters, the majority of voters didn't vote for him. How is that possible? You don't even ask yourself that question. You don't even ask yourself. We don't even ask ourselves what is power. Power is the ability to determine a phenomenon and make it act in a desired fashion. And that's what the media does. They lie to us. They mislead us. They miseducate us. They play on our ignorance. They deepen our ignorance. We don't even have an understanding of what's going on in the world. Seriously, we don't. If you was to walk into the streets right now and pick the average person in the streets and ask them, are there any political prisoners in the United States? They'll look at you like you're crazy. If you ask them to name one country in Africa, you understand, most of them couldn't name one country in Africa. Hmm? They'll just tell you Africa is a country. You see, so ignorance is rampant in the United States because we don't control the media. We don't control information. Our enemies do, and our enemies use proxies. They use these Negroes that we have in political uh, 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 positions to lie to us, to mislead us. The police unions, I heard y'all talking about how wonderful Newark is, and the police are unchecked and all of this stuff. You believe that. If you believe the armed agents of the states are under your control, you're delusional. Those knuckleheads in blue uniforms are armed agents of the state. And serve and protect means to serve the oligarchy, to serve the rich and the powerful, and protect their property. And we were once property. So we need to understand the role of law enforcement you need to understand the role of law enforcement in the modern nation state. Fascism is breathing down our necks. This next election is going to probably be the death knell of any type of so-called left or liberal or neoliberal politics. Okay, regardless of who wins, we got a choice between what we always told are two evils. Well, the lesser of two evils is still evil. Choice between a reactionary former prosecutor that locked black men up and that kowtowed and did the bidding of the police unions in California. And we have and on the other hand, we have the orange man, a buffoon, damn near illiterate, a political illiterate, who's a racist, who's a white supremacist. And we're talking about we have a choice. You don't have no choice. You see? So unless we organize ourselves into a united, powerful front with working class people and poor people and people of color, unless we do that, we don't have no clout. We don't have no political power. And we could delude ourselves into believing we do. Okay? And in the final analysis, the police unions in this country have more power in the black community than all the black folks combined. They're the ones that endorse your mayor. Let the police union not endorse Amiri Baraka and see how far he gets. So he has to seek the endorsement of the armed agents of the state. And first of all, the police are not workers. So why do they have a union? How do they have a union and they're not workers? Working class people don't have the power of life and death on their hip. They can't kill you in the course of their work. And then tell you that they felt like their life was threatened and therefore they get away with murder. These crackers been murdering us since we got brought to America in these slave ships, and we're still murdering us. We have black faces in high places here. We got black police chiefs all over the country apologizing for the murder of black women and black men. Okay, so we need to get real here and stop deluding ourselves that we have political power when we don't even have a political a party that represents our interests and working class poor people's interests. We don't. And the people that sabotaged that process back in Gary, Indiana, are some of the same Negroes that's in the Congressional Black Caucus right now as we speak. Huh? The same Negroes in the Congressional Black Caucus supported the war on drugs that helped militarize the police. Obama increased the amount of militarization of law enforcement in America. Huh? Let's be real here. And we're not being real, we're being delusional. We're given a small molecule of influence, and we consider that that's political power. It's not political power. And it's sad that we accept it as that. that we feel comfortable with that. That's the pathetic part, you see. And it's because we just don't study. We just don't study. We just don't look at history. We just don't understand the history of white supremacy in America and how it came into power off our backs. We don't understand capitalism and how it works. We don't understand that capitalism thrives on war. The United States has been at war almost its entire existence, except for 17 years. It's an economy based on war, and that war is implemented across the globe, around the globe, through proxies. The United States is rich because Africa is poor. Migrants are at the borders because U.S. policy in their countries in Latin America. Let's get real here. Let's understand that we are in a historical moment and begin to organize ourselves on a revolutionary.
Oh
You
man,
can't reform white supremacy. You have to
right? He was rolling,
violence.
and he's connect. This is what we were worried about, right? Because he's on a train, and these connects go in and out. We've been through this when Congressman Payne was on the train. You connect when you're rolling, D, right?
Yeah, but he was doing good. We have comments. Todd Burrows wants to ask him a question about his new book that's coming out in February, and Eddie Thomas gave you a shout out as well, sir. There we go. Okay.
D, can you
Oh, I
hear us?
appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us
And
about
Todd,
the book that's coming out.
The only ones that don't, the only ones that don't have problems with wireless like this are the Zionists. They be killing people based on tracking people on WhatsApp. So I'm not surprised that we have a problem because I'm on a train that's rolling from one relay station to another. So let's understand that the medium is the message, and that we're living in a global village, and that therefore what's happening right now in reality is what's important. Right now, genocide is being committed in Palestine before our very eyes, and we have black leaders that's endorsing that.
Mm-hmm.
We have black leaders and black elected officials talking about the murder of Palestinians, and Palestinian resistance is somehow an opportunity for peace in Western Asia. Where you get these Negroes from? How do you tolerate somebody like that?
Yes, sir. That struggle in the DM in the DP is real, right? Folks are asking about this book that's coming out. Tell us about that.
okay.
My book, or I was told that the brother Maroon Schultz has a book coming out on the Black.
Is this the book of interviews coming out in February? Because that's what Todd Burrows asked us to ask you about.
Connecting this struggle.
No. I think the book we collaborate on. I think it's coming out in February.
Right, yeah.
So I think I have some interviews and stuff in there. I'm trying to work on my biography. Well, I don't really call it a biography. I call it a bio story, because I'm trying to write about my generation and not about myself personally. And you know, this is considered October is considered Black Panther Party month because of the founding of the Black Panther Party in 1966 in Oakland, California. I think that it behooves this generation of young people to understand that white supremacy, the institutions of the United States, has institutional memory, and we don't. We've had our movements shattered and destroyed. We had generations that grew up under crack and heroin, and we don't have no historical continuum in terms of ideology and understanding our role in this society. So what happens is we reinvent failure. We're still fighting the same battles that we already won. We won voting rights, but we're still talking about the right to vote and not being gerrymandered and all of this stuff. You see, we supposedly won reforms of law, yet and still over 66% of the population in the U.S. prisons are black, and we're only 15.5%. So how do we're still in the same position? Things have gotten progressively worse. or progressively better? We need to ask ourselves this.
Brother TJ, you're on the panel, and you're probably the closest we have to your education. You teach everything. The Freedom School is one of the topics that y'all cover civics, so that young people could better understand their role in voting, where to place their questions, like local versus state or federal. Do y'all talk about that at your school, the Freedom School?
Well, no, not necessarily electoral politics.
But any type of civics, do y'all do any civics basically?
Well, I mean, in the sense that more so, I would say in terms of identifying, who to go to in terms of who may make certain decisions and who to pressure. And so when we talk about, using, all forms of protests, I mean, especially for my students, like they might have to start out writing letters or, making some phone calls, sending emails, exhausting all of those avenues before, they walk out, or whatever. But I guess maybe in terms of what you're saying, knowing, who to send those letters to, who to bombard with calls, who to, expose on social media, the folks who can actually make those decisions, those kind of things we talk about. Not necessarily, yeah, again, like, things like, voter registration or things like that.
And the question, TJ, always comes up about having different parties. I believe that conversation needs to continue, but we really need to, after November begins, we need to start on it like 4 years before, so that we can have people in place to have additional parties. Do you have any suggestions? Have you thought about this? How strategically how we can add give options more than the Democrat and Republican parties?
Well, that's where I'm putting my energy and my time and my efforts with young folks who are considering third party politics, who are considering organizing a third party that's abolitionist, that's anti-capitalist, that's anti-racist, that's anti-war, that's anti-white supremacist. Because a lot of the young folks know that they don't have that right now. And if I'm going to give my energy, towards any type of electoral politics, it's going to be towards that. And so, yeah, I had one of my former students participated in a panel discussion on Public Square Amplified with Josie Gonzalez. I know
Hmm.
some of the folks on know her. And they had it was 7 or 8, young folks in high school and in college who are thinking outside of the Democratic and Republican parties who aren't locked
Well,
in to the duopoly.
but listen, TJ, while we got you, right, you ain't gonna be just tech support for Dhouruba, all right? I would love to hear this audience. We got to create spaces to do that. Hear you teach the history of the Black Panther Party and why Dhouruba is such an important influence on both of us. Why don't you now? When the few times that you've actually been on with us, we've been talking about other things, but why don't we? Well, let everybody hear, how you were inspired by the Black Panther Party, and what are your takeaways from the legacy, and how and why do you appreciate D so much the way we do?
Man, so last night so D talked about, he spoke last night at Seton Hall, and he told a story about how, when I was in college at the University of Vermont, he was just, out of prison after 19 years. We had taken over, we had occupied the president's building at the University of Vermont, taking it over for 3 weeks, and we invited him up to speak. And when he got there, he was telling the story last night. He had to climb up a ladder, to get to the balcony, to get inside. But what he didn't say, and this was the first time I think I had met D in person. Maybe no, the second time. It was the second time. But what he didn't say was, after he climbed up the ladder, we were in a discussion, with some of the professors, the black and professors of color, who were trying to get us to come out. Right? They were trying to get us to come out of the occupation and give up the building. Right? But when we sat down, D just happened to be there that day, and he lit into the professors and the administrators because he tell them they were jockeying. They were the ones who were going to get the department chair, right? We were fighting for Black Studies department. One of them would have to become the chair of the Black Studies department. We were fighting for women's studies. One of them would have to become the chair of the women's studies department, but they weren't supporting us. And so when he lit into them in a way that empowered us as students, bro, listen, it was just, again, it was empowering in a way that lit that fire, and I never turned back. He's been my mentor since then. We come out. Dhouruba is still in fighting for his freedom, even after he gets, released from prison. The feds and the state of New York appeal that decision. So people like you, myself, Brother Tayari, other folks, were fighting to keep him out. But when I teach this history in school, there's a book called The Savage City, written by T.J. English, where Dhouruba is featured there. We all know Look for Me in the Whirlwind, the autobiography of the Panther 21. These are texts that over the years I've gotten approved in my curriculum, right? And so it's not about like sneaking them in. It's not about, using a part of them. They're actually, in the curriculum. When I first started out, Mumia Abu Jamal's Death Blossoms.
Whoa. Hold up. Now, I want folks to hear this now. I want folks to appreciate what you just said. You got what books in the curriculum in a Essex County suburban school system? Go ahead, say that again.
The Savage City, right? The book, right, which features Dhouruba's story. Look for Me in the Whirlwind, right? The autobiography.
The redo of Look for Me in the Whirlwind is a monster.
Yep.
The original pamphlet was like 80, 90 pages. It's now like 300 pages, up to dated and loaded. Go ahead, keep going.
R.I.P. Baba Sekou and Dekwe played a big role in getting that republished. Mumia Abu Jamal, Death Blossoms, when I first started, Assata Shakur, about autobiography of Assata Shakur. And of course, that one raised, a whole lot of, hell and caused some problems because folks were, connected to the police and the New Jersey State Troopers. But when you come out of the teaching of Dhouruba Bin Wahad and Tanakil Jones and Herman Bell and Noah Washington and Jalil Muntakin, after going and visiting, those brothers on Saturdays and Sundays when we would go up as a part of the campaign, I came back to school on Monday, like on fire, like infused to teach that stuff. And so everybody didn't have that. Like, so people like Rodney Jackson, myself, Sharnae Brown, right, who's part of the education system in Newark,
for the city of Newark,
right? We were again schooled as a part of the campaign to free Black and New African political prisoners, and so that came with a certain level of energy and a line where you just you had to stand firm for the OGs.
And for everybody's benefit, I can't say how proud I am of TJ. I used to do teachings at the Newark Public Library. They were kids in high school, right? But they would. I used to, and as soon as you got out, we brought you, so you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I've always expressed this, and I've expressed this to people, who don't even know TJ, and Rodney,
right?
And you guys, I'm so proud of these brothers because they're great human beings, and that's what politics ultimately is about. It's about our humanity. It's about how we manifest our humanity in terms of our empathy for the people who are homeless, for the people who are poor, for the people who have no voice, for the people who have no power, and that's the point. And what we get twisted is that we think that a political career or being elected to public office is somehow a testament to our intellect, our political acumen. But really, being elected to political office is an honor bestowed on you by poor people, by people who have no power. And when you betray that, when you turn that and transform that into your career rather than the empowerment of your people, is when I divert from support, is when I criticize and hold people to account. Because you know, when I got sick, when I was diagnosed with cancer, and and the brothers and sisters put together a GoFundMe that raised so much money in a matter of 2 weeks, I was humbled because I didn't think that many people cared, personally. I was humbled by that. And try to retain that humility. And like I tell the story all the time, when I first came out of prison and I spoke in Harlem at this rally in front of the state office building. And when I got off the stage and I was leaving, a sister rolled up to me with her young son. I think the boy was about 7 or 8 years old. And she says, "This is the brother that I used to tell you about. This is Dhouruba. Could you say something to my son?" And the boy was looking at me with wide eyes, and it brought me to tears because those 19 years that I spent, that sister said to her boy, and the way he looked at me, those 19 years was worth it.
That is the supreme mic dropper for the show so far. Supreme mic dropper.
Yes.
Supreme mic dropper. Indeed, we
TJ,
appreciate.
yeah,
Let's pivot
TJ,
now. Go ahead. Go ahead,
go ahead.
Diane. I'm sorry.
No, I'll just always have to ask TJ this question. Are you getting requests for people in different communities to help form freedom schools? Have you gotten any requests about for that? Or other teachers wanting to learn what you do so that so we can expand this, that more communities have these programs available for the constituents?
Actually, we're in the process now of trying to expand the Freedom School countywide.
Okay.
And so we have a few teachers in Newark, some at Bard High School, American History High School, a
Okay.
couple of teachers at Campus High School in East Orange, although they're currently going through some fiscal issues there.
And
Montclair, Orange. So yeah, that's the plan to expand it. Folks who are again anti-war, anti-racist are under attack in our different communities,
Mhm.
whether it be by Zionists in the community or folks in on the
Let me,
school board.
TJ, I'm sorry. Let me make this. If you're not talking, please mute your mic. TJ, and then that allows TJ to be heard clearer. Sorry, TJ.
Mhm. Yeah, and so we're looking to you know organize our resources again and expand the Freedom School countywide. We'll be having another student conference in December at Seton Hall, where again student voices will be at the forefront. Again, after having done some research for their position papers, but getting them to talk about these issues on their terms, in their times, in their language, without so much of the adult influence. We set it up for them, provide them with the context, and then they go in and do the work. So if there are for any teachers on the call who are interested in getting involved or getting involved in the Freedom School, please reach out.
And what's the best way for somebody to contact you, TJ?
Well, Mapso Freedom School
Okay.
at gmail.com. I'm at teachertwit at gmail.com. Um, we're on social media, Instagram, TikTok, and well, somebody does it. I don't do that, but we do have we do have pages.
Well, thank you. Zaid, I know you want to transition to another question, Zaid.
yeah. I'm trying to put this
Hakeem
in.
Green's in the house.
Yes. and, and was
Hawk was in that crew too. They were all at high school together. They were all together, rolling together. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Hawk.
yeah.
Come on. You on radio? You know what to do.
No, it's all good. I'm just glad to be in the building with my brothers. That's TJ's day is the day one. We out the cradle, out the sandbox together, and got introduced to Mr. Dhouruba Bin Wahad about the same time. Actually, TJ actually put me on, had me come up to Vermont for that first lecture Dhouruba did, and we got a chance to sit. You know, after the lecture was over, we got a chance to go behind closed doors and have some dinner and chop it up with D and get that education from the feet, you know, from the feet of the elder. And, you know, being able to be supportive around his case and others and coming into the campaign to free Black political prisoners and prisoners of war and Tanner Kill Jones, you know, helping to keep us on point, you know, and dedicated, you know, has helped me tremendously in my walk as a conscious hip hop artist. And of course is has a lot to do with this logo behind me right here, 24 hours of peace.
Right.
You know, TJ Whitaker, you know, he was right there when we brainchild that, him and Tayari. We kind of brainchild that looking at the North Anti-Violence Coalition, and, you know, TJ just always being a support, like, you know, I say my best friend, you know. I mean, this is it right there. You know, you see kind of the culmination of a lot of seeds that were planted 30 some odd years ago, and Dhouruba being, you know, a major impetus for the work that we do, TJ in education and myself in the music industry and entertainment, you know, just trying to, you know, stay true to what it's all about. And yeah, you know, we glad to have Dhouruba here with us, still with the fire, all the fire in the world, like he's 40.
Right. Yeah.
How old are you? No, don't say it. But the brother looks like he's 40.
Yes, exactly. He's
With
a
everything,
wise. Yeah.
it's like, you know, you hop on and, you know, he doesn't look like life has really touched him at all relative to just the whirlwind that the brother's gone through in his life. He doesn't. He looks untouched by.
Yeah.
We just
That's
lost
it.
that.
Beautiful skin. Hakeem,
Yes.
how are you doing?
Doing great, Doc. It's great to see you.
Great, and ditto, and congratulations on another great 24 hours of peace.
Phenomenal.
As a teacher who once taught in the East Orange School District, and TJ, if you have any thing to add with this question, you can follow up. There, 93 teachers were, I didn't see the article, laid off. But you know what's going on. Have you talked to anybody or how this was happened and how long? Do you know anything about the 93 teachers being released? Basically.
No. You know, I worked for the board at one point. My mom, you know, retired from the board back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have friends who are still there, family who's still there, who kind of gave us the heads up that something major was going to happen, but I didn't know how major until it hit the news wire. It's sad. It's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
We as a people have to do better. You know, the big losers in this are the children, which is always the case.
100%.
I don't know what we can do to help supplement and serve as a crutch for this tragedy. But as a community, we have to figure it out and be there for our, you know, our people, our district, our city, you know, the school system. I think TJ's probably a lot closer, though he's teaching in South Orange, Maplewood, you know, him still being an educator, he probably hears a lot more than I hear. But, you know, I don't know what to say. It's devastating news.
And 93 teachers. I don't know. TJ, do you have anything to follow up with?
No, I just know I have a couple of comrades who are teaching in the district, and they were fortunate enough to keep their positions. But yeah, I don't have any inside information. You know, perhaps, you know, other than to say, like, yeah, like Hawk was just saying, like, we have to do better in leadership, right? Being accountable, you know, to our people when we are in leadership, and whether that's fiscal management, you know, it's important. So yeah, I don't really know much more, so I can't speak out of turn.
Okay.
We're all
So,
concerned about it. We're all concerned about it. One thing I will say, the little bit that I do know, I was proud to see EO turn out as they were
Mm-hmm.
facing. That's one of the things that we've been concerned about in this town for years, is how the town can be too quiet
Mhm.
about how it's being managed. Right, folks were not quiet here. Right, so I'm glad that folks turned out and turned up, and there needs to be an audit, an independent audit of these
forensic,
resources.
a forensic
Yeah.
audit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things definitely need to happen. There's no way that out of the blue you're going to drop almost 100 teachers in the middle of the school year just to prevent the state from taking you over,
Mm-hmm.
right? Issue is not the state taking you over. Issue is how you're going to take care of our kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that we talk about the state taking over,
Mhm.
and then when I hear the great work that TJ's doing, like I said, like this TJ, this is my best friend right here for 40 plus years, and him being committed to the level of work that he's committed to, and then introducing our children to the level of work that they need to be introduced to, putting everything in proper context, to be able to have Dhouruba come to Columbia High School, to have Dhouruba come to the various high schools and elementary schools, so young folks who would never in their wildest dreams get a chance to meet this freedom fighter, right? To hear Donald Trump say what he said in terms of teaching a certain type of history and how he would eliminate that. Like, we have to create alternative forms of education for our young people that's not dependent upon city, state, federal government funding. Because as long as we're depending on city, state, federal funding to do what we should be doing for ourselves, it's all bad. And then when we have the type of leadership that misappropriates, I'm hearing $50 million, whether it's theft, embezzlement, misappropriation, whatever it is, it's a disservice to our community, our children, our future, our legacy, us as a people. And it just gives the ammunition to the open enemy to say we're going to snatch all that and make sure that the work that TJ is doing at Columbia not happens there or anywhere else around this country. So, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. But we have to figure out alternative ways of educating young people so we get the information that Brother TJ is presenting to our children, make sure that gets entrenched and grows.
And MAPSO is an example of that, right?
Yes.
Right.
Is a
Freedom
contemporary, example of Freedom Schools doing that. We got D back, and we're at the end of this particular segment, right? So I want to make sure I let him say what he needs to say with the couple minutes that we got left with him. D, when you had your disconnect, we turned to a local issue around our school board issue here in East Orange, right? But as we get ready to close out, what do you want? What do you want to be our major takeaways from this conversation in this particular time of the year, in this particular month, in this particular climate? As we go away from this conversation.
Well, I'm sorry I got cut off, but my phone
That's
died.
okay.
I'll keep it brief. I think that when myself and others call for a united front against fascism and white supremacy, uh, we call for a united front to bring together those progressive abolitionists and revolutionary forces in the United States into a coalition, into a united front as the basis for building or moving towards an independent political party, independent working class political party. We have to understand that although the United States is a white supremacist construct, race is only one aspect of capitalism's exploitation of working people. That the other aspect is class. And our misfortune is that we mistake black faces to be allies in the struggle against white supremacy and against ruling class power, against the power of the rich to determine our destiny and the national destiny and the use of our resources. So I think that we should work to build this type of unity, a united front against fascism. We need to study what fascism is and how it manifests itself. We need to understand U.S. foreign policy as imperial foreign policy. And these are very, very important things to understand, because once we understand on what side of the barricades we stand, and what side of the barricades the enemy of our people stand, then we could begin to struggle with each other around the correct line, around how to mobilize people. We need to think about the crisis that's approaching us with global warming, with natural disasters and catastrophes that are happening as a consequence. We need to ask ourselves, what are we going to do as a community if the lights went off tomorrow and didn't come back on? What do we do if we turn the water faucet on and the water doesn't come out? How do we survive the collapse of empire and the collapse of white supremacy in America? How do our people survive it? And I just want to say that we survived chattel slavery. We survived the feudal system of sharecropping. We survived Jim Crow. We survived segregation. And now we have to survive the demise of American empire and capitalism and white supremacy. And in order to do that, we have to become united. We have to build a united front. We have to build a united front that includes all progressive people, abolitionists, and organize ourselves so that people have an alternative to the duopoly political system that we're subjected to.
Loaded, 100%. We got to get you back. We needed more time. Never enough time, right? So let's wrap up. Donna, you want to ask Ruba the ritual question? This is his first time on.
Yeah, Ruba, this is a talk show that's a hip hop show, as a hip hop political talk show. So when you're out doing the work that you do or getting ready to go speak to a group of people, what hip hop artists do you listen to inspire? And it could be an individual or group.
Well, that's kind of hard to
No,
for me.
no,
I mean, of course, Hawk is my boy, man.
Okay.
So Hawk is my man, and I kind of listen to the old school hip hop that was talking that was political, that talked about the situations that African people were in, whether it was what was the group that used to be
Channel Live.
Yeah, Channel Live, but I mean, there's a whole genre of hip hop artists, and how can I know that I got this beef? I got this analysis of hip hop that is not kind to the hip hop generation, because the reason why I say that is every generation has a soundtrack. And the soundtrack of my generation was Black liberation. The soundtrack of my generation was power to the people. The soundtrack of my generation was empowering black folks. But the soundtrack of the generation that we have now after the crack epidemic with these crack babies is about how much money I got in my bank account, how big my dick is, and how fly I am, how many black folks I can kill, and how big my Uzi is. And so that right there tells me that the music, if it's not for people like Hawk, who try to keep it real, who try to keep it relevant, who try to keep it on track, the music has deteriorated to the point where we follow P. Diddy's scandal more than we follow the liberation of our people right now, and the forces that are allied against us. So I don't have all of my hip hop heroes and she was an old school from the days when hip hop was political and had and talked about the oppression and exploitation of black people. But I don't have any models today that
Yeah,
I
you
could
do.
really.
You got
I just,
Hakeem Green and others. Okay.
I just said that.
No,
I
know what
just
I'm
said
saying?
that off
Because
the
you know,
top.
let me say something.
He wanted to hear it
You know,
again.
Dhouruba and TJ, they get Hakeem Green straight off the press. Like, soon as I
Okay.
record something, I'm shooting at the T, I'm shooting at the Dhouruba. They get it early. They get everything before anybody get it. I run it by D and I run it by TJ to make sure I'm in line with what I need to be saying. I'm still making music out here. So though I am considered old school, I'm still dropping music right now today. And it's always going to represent what these two gentlemen stand for. So what the show stands for. So when you say who you listen to, Hakeem Green, that's your soundtrack, Dhouruba. Thank you.
And so Brother Dhouruba and TJ are your sounding board. You send it to him, and they give you the feed. That's beautiful.
That's
Get the white, yeah, we get the white label copies, yeah, right after.
So let me also say.
So TJ, who are you listening to? Okay, go ahead, Hakeem. I'm sorry.
No, TJ, who you listening to?
No, Hakeem, you go ahead. Okay, TJ, you're gonna come through the screen too. TJ, who are you listening to when you're doing before you go into a class or what hip hop artist, individual group to inspire you?
So yeah, all right. So yeah, outside of Hawk, I think the last time I was here, I talked about that new the piece that RZA had dropped. But actually, the last couple of days in class, in my Black Studies class, in the AP class, we're looking at departure zones from where Africans were taken and sold on the continent. And so Lupe Fiasco had this project called Drogas Wave, and there's a couple of songs that just speak directly to that context. Africans and on the continent and the Portuguese colonizers, the French colonizers, the Spanish colonizers, and what that context and what that tension was, what it meant for the Middle Passage. And so, if anybody's not familiar with Drogas Wave, I know y'all probably know who Lupe is, but that project, specifically Gold versus the Right Thing to Do, is a song that we looked at, and Wave Files. But Lupe, literally just today and yesterday, that I used in class as part of my lessons.
Wow. Right on. Good stuff.
I wanted to mention that 24 Hours of Peace, we know that as the festival that occurs every year in Newark, New Jersey, 24-Hour Peace Festival. But it's also a workshop series where we use hip hop to identify transferable skills in young people and ways to impart critical thinking and conflict resolution. TJ is a basketball star, coach now. So we've created a workshop called Basketball as Life, where we use basketball as a critical thinking teaching tool. And we have an entire curriculum built out around basketball. This is why it works on the court, and this is why it works in real life when you use the same types of strategies. So be on the lookout for Basketball as Life, co-created with Brother TJ Whitaker for 24 Hours of Peace.
Awesome. Great segment, y'all.
Thanks, D.
Right?
I keep staying with us, right?
Did it,
Yeah,
I'm staying. Yeah.
yeah, man.
Baba Saeed, thank you, bro.
Yeah, thanks, Zaid. I just want to say, it was good to see all of you guys again. Even though I just saw Hop abstractly, but I saw Hop several months ago. And every time he comes through Atlanta, if I'm there, or New York, we try to hook up. I just want to say, man, it's good to see everybody, and keep on keeping on, man.
Love you, bro. Jasmine says hello. Jasmine says love.
Oh yeah, cool. Tell her I said yeah.
What's good, Jazz?
Tell her I said what's up.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So yeah, I appreciate you guys having me on the program, and I'm just sorry that I'm in this situation on the train. but I'm going to see my son at Temple
No
University
apologies.
right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you
So
did. It's good. Well, feel free to just let us know when you want to come back, because I'm sure you have a
Exactly.
lot more to talk about, and a lot of the our audience had questions for you. So please feel free to come back.
well, I think I should come back after this election,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
because
yeah.
yeah, I think I like to come back after the election so I can say I told you so.
Okay.
So
Do you want to tell? Did you talk about in the beginning, or are you saying that right now you believe who do you think is going to prevail? Do you have any thoughts to that, or you want to just wait
No,
until after the
you
well,
always
election?
questions at the last
I don't
minute.
I don't
I'm
I don't
sorry.
think yeah that was the question that should have been up front. It really because we are living in a democratic fashion state.
Hmm.
I'm too loud. The lady telling me I'm too loud, but
All right, we'll wait for you.
I don't have
Well,
an inside voice. I'm a public speaker. She said, I'm a public speaker. I don't have an inside voice. But they need to listen because I'm telling the truth. So 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 listen, babe. Uh, it doesn't matter who wins this election because uh, if Kamala Harris wins, she's just going to be the nigga on the trigger like Obama. And if the orange man wins, we're gonna be the laughing stock of the whole world because he's a buffoon.
right.
And U.S. foreign
Oh my,
policy, and
think
U.S.
that's Jasmine waving at you?
domestic policy. No, the sister I was telling her, she said I should use my inside voice. I told
Well,
her I don't
here's
have
what
an
you
inside
do.
voice.
So you gave us, because we
I'm
have
a
to go to
public
the
speaker.
next segment, but we will have you back in November so that we can dissect the election, and then we can have either I told you so, or here we go with buffoonery. So we'll make sure that Zaid books you for the November show. Okay.
Say hi one time.
Okay,
I
that's
did.
that's
And and
Everybody.
Jazz, and you have something. You see? Can you see
That's
how?
Jasmine right there.
Hmm.
okay.
You know.
Hey baby, what's up?
Hi.
What's up?
How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. How
Good,
you guys doing? Y'all
good.
living it, man. Y'all gonna be underwater in about 15 years down there in
Now,
Florida, man.
we won't be here that long. Trust me. We won't be here that long.
I
They go
I
on
hear
the
I know
that.
you
higher
got to.
ground.
Yeah, y'all got to get up out of there, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
gonna move
All
to
right,
the
so
next segment. So, Brother Dero, we'll see you in November to speak
Eh,
about
Inshallah.
electoral politics. Okay.
Inshallah. Y'all take care of yourself and watch your
all
back,
right, beloved.
man.
Yes,
We
sir.
got you.
Peace.
All right.
All
All
right.
right. Peace.
If Dhouruba's correct, the whole country's gonna be Florida in a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Now we got a heavy segment coming up. Our guests here, are they in the background? Ed, you muted, Ed.
Ed is muted. We can't hear you.
Tell me who should be on, Zaid.
It's a bunch of them. It should be Art Blakey. It should be Kimberly. It should be Marissa. It should be Kathy. It's a bunch of them,
Go ahead.
right? Because we are getting ready for, just like we got 24 hours apiece. We got October 22nd, the National Day of Action against police brutality. Now, who's missing? I see Art. Good to see you. And Art, we got to have a serious musical conversation when time permits. I don't know if we're gonna have time to do it, but it's
You
even though
got
this is
Art. Is that Kathy and is that
Kathy
Mara
and
and
Marissa.
Marissa and Marissa?
I'm gonna hop out, guys.
You gonna come back, Hakeem?
I'll come back.
yeah, come on,
Okay. Make sure
yeah,
you come back. Okay. Okay.
Peace.
So,
should have
is it 3 for this
Kim
segment,
and
Zaid?
Jasmine. We should
Well,
have Kim and
thank you.
Jasmine be coming in.
We should have 2 more.
Yeah, that's Kim and Yasmin.
Okay.
They're not
Right?
there yet. They're not. I don't see
Okay,
them.
all right. Well, let's in the interest of time, let's jump in it, right? Now, y'all, I don't know if y'all heard the last segment. Last segment, well, Art is the child of a great musician. I'm a son of the Black Panther Party. Right? So we got some heavy tradition in the house on this particular call, right? But we just had Dhouruba Bin Wahad, who was the legend of the Black Panther Party and Black Liberation Army, former political prisoner, right? We got into some heavy stuff. And of course, we cannot talk about the Black Panther Party and its legacy without talking about police, without talking about point number 7. We demand the end of the murder and killing of Black people by the police. Right? And that is still the order of the day, unfortunately, in these racist United States of America. Right? October 22nd, which also happens to be the birthday of Chairman Bobby Seale of the Black Panther Party, by the way. The 29th National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. Before COVID, 29 years. This is a day of action. People all over the country turning up the volume on this horrible question, right? And before COVID, we were averaging 40 cities every October 22nd-ish, right? And we're trying to get the numbers back up. Kathy, you can tell us what the numbers look like, but I really want to appreciate the fact that in addition to Newark doing what we do, and this will be our 6th year in Newark, this will be our 2nd year in Jersey City. I'll give that information at the end of the conversation, right? But we've got a whole bunch, that those numbers are coming back. Archer in Cleveland, is that right?
Yes.
You're in Cleveland. Marissa, I don't know if you can remember me. We've been in platforms together before. I
Yes.
remember you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate how you've been rolling, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Marissa is in Cali,
Yeah.
right? Yasmin is just jumping in. She's from the great Nicholas Haywood family, right? She's in Brooklyn, right? So this is truly a national phenomena that is taking place. Kathy, sum it up for us on the intro spot, and then we get our guests and talk about what they're doing in their given city.
I'm going to be really quick because I kind of really want these families to be able to, I want to hear them speak. I love hearing them speak. So the October 22nd Coalition, since 1996, has called for a national day of protest to stop police brutality, repression, and the criminalization of a generation. And it's a day for those who demand an end to the national epidemic of police brutality. We want people on the street, but we really just want people to mark the day and just the largest, most visible presence possible to show that, there are these many people who demand a stop to this. So this year, it's the 29th, as Zaid had mentioned, and I think we have like over 24 actions right now around the country, and also in Canada. We tend to have some solidarity actions in Canada. In the past, we also had Australia, New Zealand, so there are a number of actions, and those who are also on today's show, there are actions that are being organized by families of those who've been killed by law enforcement. And hopefully Kim will join us too. So these are people who have lost their loved. Oh, sorry, Yasmin's trying to get back on. I'm just getting a text from her. These are those who have lost their loved ones to police terror, police murder, and part of their way of trying to demand justice and grieving is to try to build resistance against this kind of national terror. So I would like to move it to the families, but I have the website for October 22nd. It's october22.org. If anyone wants to see our national call for this year, anyone wants to organize something, we have a lot of resources on the website, and all the actions that we know about anyhow are also listed there if anyone wants to take part. There are a few virtual events too for those who can't physically go out easily, including Marissa's. So I hope that whoever is out there that wants to do something, be a part of it, please do. And please email oct22national@gmail.com if you have an action that we don't have on the website.
And Kathy, in the private chat area, put the link in there, and we can. Wait 1 second, Kathy, put the link in the private chat area, and then we can post it and keep posting it throughout the show.
Thank you.
In the comments,
you're welcome.
Right on it. Yeah. No, before now, Kathy, as we pivot, why don't you talk about Fist Across America, right? The social media
Yeah,
campaign.
we have a national campaign that we've been doing for the last few years, and the video is being put together now. But this was something that we thought about a few years ago when we were trying to come up with a more national coordinated action, because the National Day of Protest is mostly people locally organizing something. So it's like we just all do it on October 22nd. So our attempt to try to replicate something like Hands Across America was like Fists Across America. But of course, you know, being a grassroots organization that's unfunded, we don't really have the resources to do something like that. So we put together Fists Across America a few years ago that we continued for the past few years, including this year, which was just to have people send in photos of themselves with their fists up, with their location. So it's kind of like a representation of people coming together on the National Day of Protest. So hopefully the video will be available over the weekend, and it'll be on our website.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Now, each of you have been with us, other than Kathy, for the first time. I'm gonna work from the left coast and come east, right? Because it's, you know, Marissa's coming from the longest distance, and each of you, of course, have painful stories that we've all shared over the years, right? But Marissa, tell us a story about, you know, your brother, how you responded to what has happened to your brother, and the larger fight against police brutality, and how you become a force in your own right in that fight.
Hi, thank you for having me, and thank you for the intro. My name is Marissa Barrera. I live in Sacramento, California. I've been in this fight for 7.5 years now, since my brother Michael Barrera was murdered by 5 Woodland police officers in our hometown of Woodland, California. It's been a long 7.5 years, and it still feels like it's just happened yesterday. The way I responded by fighting back from day one. When we got the call, I just knew something wasn't right. My brother, he was 30 years old when he was killed, a father to 2. He had 1 baby on the way. He had a 10-year-old daughter and a baby on the way. My brother had been targeted leading up to his killing, the months leading up. And one of the officers involved was one of the very officers who brutalized him just weeks prior to killing him. Sorry, I lost my camera. My lighting. But Michael was killed by 5 officers. I'm back. He was killed by 5 officers. It involved a beating, taser use, asphyxiation was how he finally died. They used the taser excessively, according to their own policy, according to the taser policy. They used it so much excessively and recklessly that another officer had to tell that officer to stop because he was feeling the effects. 5 officers involved. They all used physical force. They used their weapons, and they piled on him. It took 4.5 minutes. His last words were, "I can't breathe," and screaming out and crying for help. So it's Michael, as I mentioned, he was targeted. He let us know. He let a lot of people know that the police were harassing him and threatened to take his life. And that's why I immediately knew that I had to fight and that something wasn't right. Fast forward 7.5 years, we have not gotten justice for Michael. Like most of the other families, the officers were quickly cleared. We do have a civil rights lawsuit that has been settled just as of this year. It was the first settlement of this kind in our small hometown. The officers really tried to fight us for years on that. They lost qualified immunity during our process of the civil rights lawsuit, but
really
still nothing happened to them. Other than that, I just hopped into this. I started meeting impacted families, other activists. I started showing up to actions and just learning more, educating myself more, talking to more families. And now I have started a nonprofit called Voices of Strength, and I started that platform to help other families also share their stories and just to really show people that these are not isolated events. The get down when they kill is often a similar story of corruption and cover-ups, and the brutality runs deep. We are, as Kathy mentioned, I am doing one of the virtual events this year for 022. People can join by it's www.tinyurl.com OCT22 virtual, and I'll put it in the chat as well. I have been participating in October 22nd since the year that my brother was killed here in Sacramento. And the last couple years, I organized them out here. We had a bunch of impacted families from across the state show up. Some from other states joined us as well. But this year, I decided against doing it in person. Personal capacity to do it has been low. And also because last year, it was a lot of us families, children, supporters. We went in peaceful like we normally do, but just equipped with our knowledge and our voice to speak. However, we still got met with a heavy police presence. They showed up, they blocked us off our peaceful march. They got aggressive with some of the women, and I make that clear. They got aggressive with women because they didn't do it to any of the men. And at these type of events, unfortunately, we do see mostly from what I've been to, which I've been to a lot by now, we see a lot of women out there more so often. And they really tried to intimidate us last year, but we ended up having a great gathering. So although I couldn't organize in person, I still wanted to invite families out here.
And we were talking about that around the country. We knew it. We heard about that.
Yes.
We definitely had our eyes on you with that, right?
Yes.
Let me say this to you also, right? I have a statewide coalition against police brutality here in New Jersey. And I'm trying to resurrect the conversation with some tech and capacity issues by virtue of the organization that used to host some of what I do. But we have a conversation within that circle called Say Their Names, right? The Sandra Brand Breonna Taylor talks, where we spotlight how police violence impacts women as being physical targets and victims, and the residual trauma impact on our families and in our community, and how women try and show up, and still, nevertheless, the weight of all of that is quite difficult. And how, even in spite of that, one of the healthiest things that comes from this is that the mutually supportive spaces that we're talking about are, for the most part, led and shaped and managed by women like you, right? So so I just wanted to lift that up, and it's another resource I want to turn you to of support, because you definitely do have support. I'm very proud of how you've been standing up. We see you, right? In the vocal language, we see you, right? And we stand with you, you know.
I
and we appreciate
you,
right? And we're gonna be lifting up. I'm just learning about your platform, Voices of Strength. We're gonna be lifting that up, right? We're definitely gonna be lifting that up. Art Blakey, on the matter of what I just talked about, how this impacts women, you lost your baby sister.
Yes. Kiana Nicole, she was 19 years old when she was murdered by a Black Cleveland police officer. And she was destined at the time to go to Ohio State University on a full scholarship. And she would be the only other of my sibling who had the opportunity to even go to college, besides her big brother here. And we found out, well, I just graduated from Syracuse University at the time, and we were to take her, to get her settled in Ohio State, in her new dorm and all this, when we heard the day before that she was murdered. Well, we first heard that they said that it was an attempted suicide. And there was no way that we, thought, that as happy as she was, and, as the person she was never, in a state that she was going to take her own life. And so we find out much later, after another autopsy report was done, that she was actually shot twice in the back of the head in her apartment building, right before her, right near her apartment. And since then, it just been growing, as many people that have been murdered by police, started with Cleveland, with me, was the murder of Michael Pipkins. that happened a year after my son was born. Then later, I'm just seeing more and more and just getting more brutal and brutal. Like here in Cleveland was the 137
Yes.
shot
I was gonna
Timothy.
look that up. Yes.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yes, that was. And that was a modern day lynching. No way you can go around that. Fortunately, it was at night. It was done in a school parking lot. Imagine, the disrespect of human life, even in that neighborhood where you have a shootout of two people unarmed, in a parking lot, just firing away like a firing squad. And the only cop that was even cited and was indicted in the whole situation, ended up being acquitted a year later. And I was wondering,
is that the one that jumped on the hood and shot right into the hood?
yes, Brelo was his name, his last name.
Terrible.
And yeah, I know. And he gets away with it. He gets acquitted. And so in the protest, 71 of us got arrested and was put into, first they put us on a bus. They trapped us in the alley, most of us. They put us in a truck. They took us to the old aviation school that has been abandoned at that point for more than 20 years. And sat in there and arraigned us there before they took us to the Injustice Center. We spent the night there, and then they took us out to the old workhouse out in Warrensville, which also have been abandoned for many years. And conditions, the bathrooms, water coming out is all yellow. They was feeding us, rancid food, all through, the whole time, and kept us for a day because of a championship basketball game, which the Cavs lost that year. And after that, okay, then it was Tamir Rice,
yes,
who was
yes,
shot
yes,
in less than 1.5 seconds. And the cop also gets acquitted. And on top of that, he tried to get with other jobs when he was already a mental case when he came onto the Cleveland Police Department from the Independents. And so it was stopped by, another group in town, that stopped him from, getting another job, in another police consortium. And it's just been going on, here in Cleveland, and we're all over in Ohio. You had Jalen Walker, shot in the head with bullets,
yes.
More than 60 bullets in his body. You had many others, just the recent murder now of Christian Thomas. The recent murder right here in Cleveland, in Cleveland Heights. 17-year-old just graduated from high school. And it was more of a situation where why did this kid have to die in the way, and still there's a lot of information that is being held back, not being, not any accountability, in anything, including the actual events what led to this kid being shot. And the fact of the matter, we just learned that, first of all, police are not there to serve and protect. They are basically, they serve a system to keep people in color and others, even poor whites, in place of repression, oppress and keep people in the press to basically go after each other. Why they talk about black on black crime. My sister was murdered by a black cop. So where do Black Lives Matter there with my sister or the cop? And the horrible murder behind, and it's getting more brutal and vicious, like the murder of Sandra Massey,
Yes.
or just shot like that. Yeah. And it's just getting more vicious and more vicious. And it just, I think it just keeps feeding into, like last year we had the most murders, since George Floyd. And we can now say that There've been, between the civil rights movement to now, it has been more police murders than it was after the civil war up to the civil rights movement with the lynchings that went on with the black codes and Jim Crow. We have surpassed, the police has surpassed the amount of lynchings by police murders that happened in this country.
That's right. That's right.
So this is the thing that comes out with the criminalization of a generation, what they are doing with Palestinians, with what's going on in Springfield. We're saying that these people eat dogs and cats and all this other stuff. And these are just people, just regular people that are in a situation that they are trying to survive, most likely because America has done into their countries what they are doing to many people of color in this country. And it just will keep on continuing until, we finally have a stand, of all of us together and, fighting against this and saying, that enough is enough, that no more we have to put an end to this police brutality, murder, criminalization. All of it has to, be, finally fought against and won.
So you had let's put this in context for a minute, and then we're gonna go to Akron, Ohio now. Our friend Kimberly, right? You lost your sister in 1989.
Yes.
And you have become, as a consequence of that, a force in your community for other families for almost 3 decades now.
Yes. Yes.
We salute you, brother.
Thank you.
Right, and that's why networks like this are important, because they give people who are, coming into this for the first time a place to come, right, to seek support, right, to seek confirmation, reaffirmation, and to seek some healing, right, where that's not going to come in other quarters, particularly in the justice system. So we definitely want to lift you up and shout you out in that way. Now tell us about what's going to happen in Cleveland on the 22nd that you're organizing.
Well, in Cleveland, we're going to have it this year near the site where Christian Thomas was murdered. This was the recent murder that happened a couple months ago. And it's going to start there. And then we are going to march from there to City Hall. And we're going to have a rally in front of the Cleveland Heights City Hall. And we also planning after that to have a march, that goes to Cumberland Park, which is about a mile down the hill. And we have also reached out to the Palestinian community because they had a rally today as well. And a lot of were enthused about being a part of 022 because really, it affects all of us in a way, especially within the criminalization. It affects us all, in the cycle of what's being targeted, who is being targeted, and why, this cycle, not with just police, but with vigilantes and with other forces out there, that, are also, at the gate, ready to attack, and try to thwart us away, where even force us inside. So that's a big thing that we have to identify, and deal with, and that's basically the protest here in Cleveland this year.
Well, Kathy and AJ, this segment does not give us enough time for you to adequately express everything that's going on and even to get feedback from our audience and answer questions. So we're going to ask you to come back. Kathy,
hold on, brother. Let me get Kim.
Let me just finish my statement. Okay, just let me finish my statement. I put a link in there for the Sacramento Black Chamber of make sure Marissa gets that because I'm very familiar with that organization and I'm sure they'll be a great partner since she's right in Sacramento. So they do a lot of work. Go ahead, Zaid. I'm sorry.
No, I wanted to pivot because we're covering a lot of territory: California, Cleveland, Ohio, now Akron, Ohio. and I don't know if we lost Yasmin, because Yasmin is Brooklyn, and then we'd wrap up. Kim, we know Kim, right, from some of our other spaces or whatever. Kim, this is actually your first time on All Politics Are Local. Kim lost her partner in Muhammad Isafan in Akron, and Akron has been the scene of some horrible shootings since his killing, right? And Kim has had her own fights with the law enforcement community out there as a consequence of her raising her voice, trying to get justice for him and their family. Kim, tell us Muhammad's story, and tell us what you're going to be doing on the 22nd.
Thank you very much, Brother Zaid. And salam alaikum to all of my Muslim brothers and sisters that are joining us this evening.
Walaikum salam. Thank you.
As he said, my name is Kimberly Vaughn. I am the former wife of Muhammad Isafan and also the mother of his only child. And we're coming up on his 5-year anniversary on December 15th, 2019. Muhammad was shot at over 32 times and took 15 bullets. He was walking home after running out of gas and 3 houses away from home. He was approached by 2 officers, guns drawn. No conversation, de-escalation, no nothing. They did not have their body cams on, but I did find an eyewitness and a business across the street that had a video that shows that my Muhammad did not pull a gun, as the officers are stating, that he posed no threat to either one of the officers. Fast forward into his grand jury, that lead witness was not called to the grand jury. Subsequently, the grand jury cleared both of these officers. Fast forward to current. We are currently, my daughter and I, we have federal civil charges against the 2 officers that murdered Muhammad. And we are in what's called summary judgment right now, which for those of you who don't know what summary judgment is, because I didn't know until it happened to me, it's basically just a last-ditch effort by the defense to have Muhammad's case thrown out, basically. And we've been waiting over a year to hear the judge's decision on that. Judge Ruiz in Cleveland Federal Civil Court has had that decision in his lap for over a year now. Last August 1st, he was presented with the motion from the defense. So any day that call could come, and either way it goes, it's going to change our life drastically. Not that it hasn't been already drastically changed. So that's the short story of Muhammad's murder. As with a lot of us families, there's many more pieces that are in, Muhammad's case is very layered. He was also being harassed prior to his death. He was also harassed post-mortem by the officers. So there's many more things to tell, but that's the short version of his murder. And ever since I found that lead witness and saw the video from the business across the street, it's been game on. The minute the cops left our house after notifying us of his death, my daughter and I looked at each other and said, something ain't right here. And I looked at her and I said, this has to be all you, because mom is his ex-wife right now. Now, what people don't know, and is, here or there, but Muhammad did propose to me again on last night that I saw him alive and gave me a ring. So, but on paper, I was his ex-wife. So I told her, I said, it's going to have to be all your decision. Do you want to fight, baby girl? Because mom will fight. Yeah. You got the right mama. Your father picked a tough old lady, and we will fight. Do you want to fight? Because mama will fight. And she said, Mom, we got to do something. This ain't right. I don't feel right about this. So Mama didn't feel right either, and it was time to go to battle. And ever since then, like I said, it's been game on. Even though we took a loss in the grand jury, that did not deter me. It took the officials 504 days to tell us exactly what happened to Muhammad. They knew what they were doing. They knew that I would not be able to find representation until I had his entire case file, and they didn't give that to us until 504 days after his murder, leaving me about 6 months to find an attorney before the statute of limitations ran out. Luckily enough, I was able to do that. So that's basically where that all stands. It's the biggest test of patience. You know, they made us wait 504 days to find out. It's been almost 400 days waiting on the decision of Judge Ruiz. It's been 1,764 days since his murder. Yeah, every day that goes by, I know it. So,
you're talking about the protracted nature of these kind of battles when we get in them. They are indeed protracted, as our broader struggle for justice is indeed protracted. I want to put a pin in something about this also, Kim, because you know, these networks that we share are important, right? Kim came to us through two projects. One, Stolen Lives Project that Kathy represents and has been so faithful to for so many years, and Mother's Cry for Justice. And before we know it, Kim was on our People's Organization for Progress calls and in all those spaces and whatnot. Those are those networks bringing us together. So I just wanted to lift up the fact that we have to share and help each other and collaborate and you know, build these coalitions that Dhouruba was talking about in our earlier session, right? To really help.
And I'm gonna jump in, Zaid, because I'm being pushed by Ed because we have somebody
We
in the
gotta
wait.
wrap up. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
We gotta
and
wrap
that's
up.
what, and I wanted to say to ask, would you be open the panel to come back and maybe we set aside 1 hour, you know, because this was not nearly enough. The review board that happened in Newark, I know that was on the ballot in Ohio. AJ, when you give your closing, I'm asked one last question. Can you just answer, did the Citizens Review Board pass when y'all took it to the ballot? But this show is a hip hop political talk show.
Wait a
And
minute.
so
Before that, she's got to tell us what she's doing on the 22nd.
that's what I'm saying. They can, when they answer the question, they can also highlight what they're doing. So this is a hip hop political show. So the question we ask every guest that comes on is, what hip hop artists are you listening to, individual or group, that helps you continue to do the work when you need to be inspired? And let's start with Kathy. And then also give us your last remarks as well.
Sorry, I just realized I was still muted.
Yeah.
I tend to like, I don't listen to a lot of newer music because I don't listen much to the radio these days. But I still listen to a lot of CDs, and I have a whole footlocker full of audio tapes, and I have a milk crate full of vinyl that I can't really play on anything anymore. But I still love PE and Mos Def. And among people I know and love, Spirit Child and Peace Poets, you know, they're always great.
Spirit Child is one of ours. Yeah. Go ahead, Kathy. I'm just telling the audience.
I know you're running low on time. You have someone else coming on, so we can move on to next. Oh, so just last plug for October 22nd, National Day protest. Wear black, fight back, come out, get out on the street, show people that, you know, we need to work together, stand together. We need to have we need to stand, especially with people who have been brutalized and oppressed and need to have other people on their back, like at their backs to support them. So connecting people who are under the gun and those not under the gun to stand together.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Kim, who tell us about your event, and then you can answer Donna's ritual question. That's our ritual.
Okay, I'll be real quick. I've done actions before. I'm the only one doing actions in Akron, and that's why I reach out to other organizations, because other than my brother AJ on this call, we don't get a lot of support, even in Akron, with the murder of Jalen Walker. I'm about ready to have an action, and I can almost guarantee you I'm going to be the only one there. That's the way it goes for me in Akron, and that's why I have been blessed and able to reach out to other organizations. So I'll keep that quick and simple there. My last October 22nd event was in Akron. We took over the fallen police officers memorial and were met with hostility. My brother AJ was there with me for that. This year, I'm going to do a 24-hour sit out for October 22nd. I'm breaking it up between Stowe, Ohio Police Department and Akron, Ohio. Stowe, Ohio has taken a page where they have wanted to harass me and my disabled daughter. My disabled daughter and I. So this year I am going to do 12 hours of the sit out in front of Stowe Police Department. And then I'm going to move and do the last 12 hours in front of Akron Police Department, the department that killed my Muhammad. So that's the action that I'm doing, 24 hours. So even though I might be alone, hopefully I'll be able to make some kind of an impact on behalf of our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and my hip hop. So the white Italian girl, okay? I'm from the 80s, all right, and the 90s. I was in college in the 90s. I love my TLC tip, Forever Left Eye. Yes, my girls. And also got a shout out Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. Back in the late 80s and 90s, Janet was talking about the shit that we're handling here today, and nothing has changed.
You pull one out of the hat with that one. Yes. Go ahead. All right.
So let's resurrect that Rhythm Nation, baby. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And AJ, to you, are you familiar with the legislation I asked about, the Citizens Review Board? You're mute.
If you are referring to issue 24, which was yes, it did pass.
Okay.
The thing about that is, well, we see.
Tell him, AJ.
We see that it's more of a thing, where they are more fighting themselves than they are fighting, anything around police brutality, or whatever. And the downside of it is how they used, because it was originally built up from 4 families that have lost their loved ones to police. And it was used on that name, but it turned out, one is called the Police Commission, so it's not about the people. And it seems like they more care about getting funding for something they have no plan for than anything else. So
we might bring you back to talk about that. But can you end with letting me know your hip hop artist, individual or group that you listen to?
You take me way back.
Back.
Definitely old school. I mean, if you want to go way back, I would say Gil Scott Heron, was an inspiration for a
Revolution will be televised.
And from there, I mean, you had Roy Ayers and the African tune, Fela. I was very much into that type of music, which led me to be in a band called Mafumbe, which also was a great, hip hop, local band that used to be here in Cleveland. And where anybody that had a message, like Public Enemy, when they say fight the power, from older Tupac, stuff, anyone that had a message when I gravitated to. To take it away from all the riffraff that they try to throw us through the mainstream.
Well, thank you all, Kathy, AJ, and Kim, for coming on, and we will be inviting you back. And if there's something before we invite you back that you need to get out to the community, feel free to reach out and see, and we'll put you on the panel. So thank you
I
very
need to
much.
say, I
Go
need to
ahead,
say this
Zay.
about AJ, right? AJ is from jazz royalty lineage. Right? This is a hip hop talk show, but you know, the great Art Blakey was one of the greatest jazz drummers in the history of music.
Mhm.
Period. Right? So that's, you know, and then Art taught the generation, same generation, you know, our generation that created hip hop is the same generation that people like Art taught to take jazz into the 21st century. Right?
Yes.
So I got to bam, I can't let that brother come on the air and not lift up his family legacy. That's huge.
Well,
Right?
we're going to talk about that
And
because
it's your
jazz
political
enthusiasts.
legacy in the community now, too, AJ. Right on. We see
Yeah,
you.
and AJ is also an amazing artist on his own too.
I bet.
You know it.
Yeah.
Them jeans, I bet.
Well, thank you. And our next guest is here. And everybody have a wonderful and safe
Thank you for
weekend.
having us.
And then again, we're here to be utilized so that people can hear what's going on all over. So please don't feel free to call us before we call you. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
All
too.
right. Have a great night, everyone.
Right on, y'all. On October 22nd. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Edward.
Now she comes on his own.
Edward is here.
Yeah.
Edward.
Yes.
Go ahead, Donna. Take it away.
Zay, who's going to introduce? Zay, you?
You are.
Edward, I am going to introduce Edward. Well, I can see that he's labored. I didn't bring your labor, and you're here. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to see what you're here to talk about. But I know after you give us your intro and presentation, I am going to ask you some questions about the East Orange layoff. But can you feel free to introduce yourself and the organization and what we're going to be talking about tonight?
Okay. Thank you very much. And it is indeed an honor to be in your presence and for me to speak to your audience. I just want to follow up something that Zaid said earlier, and I was wondering if AJ Blakey was related to Art Blakey. So that kind of hooked me in right there when I saw that Blakey, on the screen. Speaking of, I'm kind of going backwards, but speaking of hip hop, a brother that's from Newark that I kind of grew up with named Talamu AC.
No, Talamu. But Talamu's mama. Talamu mama was in the Black Arts movement with the Baraka. He's a Black Arts baby. Mm-hmm.
There you go. So that was my man. Speaking of hip hop and rapping and poetry and messaging and music, so he was all about that. Now, what I'm here to talk about is I represent the Black Organization of Students Alumni Association from Rutgers, Newark, and those of you that are familiar with the Black Organization of Students of Rutgers, Newark, are familiar with the 1969 Conklin Hall takeover. So that's the group that I come from, and we're putting on a program.
I was vice chair of boss back when I was in school in the late 70s and early 80s.
Yes, indeed. I'm familiar with your history. I know I sit at your feet. You know, I follow in your footsteps, so I'm well aware of that. But we're having an event October 24th. That's next Thursday at the Express Newark Center, the renovated Haynes building on Halsey Street, 54 Halsey Street. We will have the new chancellor of Rutgers Newark, first Black person to be in that role. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Robinson. And
I want to talk to brother. I want to talk to that brother.
Yes.
Well, I was on the campus Saturday.
Definitely show up.
Yeah, I was
make sure you come out. Yeah.
Yeah, this past Saturday,
yes,
we were on campus. The Victoria Foundation did a funders one-day conference for funders that fund community-based programs like our violence intervention programs. Jeffrey opened it up. This show started on the campus of Rutgers, Newark.
Yes, indeed. I'm aware of that.
Yeah,
I'm aware. It's amazing. Everything comes full circle.
Full circle, yeah.
Everything comes full circle. So, during that night, Dr. Robinson, he will lay out his plan for Rutgers Newark. Because to kind of go back to the 1969 takeover, that was about opening doors and giving opportunity. So doors are open, quote unquote. Now it's time for us to take full advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of us. As an educator, I often try to encourage students to go to Rutgers Newark or Rutgers New Brunswick. They have these dreams of, Ivy League, and there's nothing wrong with that. Dreams of going afar and, all of that. They see that image of college and they're pursuing that. So I try to give them a kind of a dose of reality. College is about developing your mind so that you can be of some assistance to your people. That's what the whole point of college should really be about. It's not an individual kind of get a job sort of vehicle. It's really about developing your skills, developing your intellect, developing your ideas, your strategy to help your people. Because at that time, going back to 1969, it was only 2%, maybe 3% Black people that were enrolled in Rutgers, enrolled at Rutgers Newark. In the middle of Newark, only 2 to 3% had Black enrollment. That's ridiculous. So that was changed as a consequence of the brave actions of 16 students, and they were only 18, 19 years old at that time. But we all know from history that the young people often are on that vanguard. They often lead that change. So as a consequence of that, now Rutgers Newark is kind of hailed as one of the most diverse schools in the nation. Actually, it's been on the top 10 lists of most diverse places, and that's good. But to bring a dose of reality to it, the Black enrollment currently is about maybe 18%, 19%. Latino enrollment is about 30%, 32%. All right, so that's respectable compared to, we're talking 2% in 1969. So that's some growth, but it should be more than that.
Exactly.
It should be more than that. So I'm just going to pull back for a second and just try to encourage people to come to our event on the 24th, Thursday the 24th. I do have a link.
That's what I was going to ask you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you put it in the private chat, we'll put it up. So
okay. You know what? I'm not too good at typing and talking, so I don't know if I could get it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna say it first, and then I'm gonna try to type it.
Okay. It's www. Go ahead.
Yeah, www. They can go to RutgersFoundation.org.
Rutgers Foundation.
Then / meet the chancellor, all one word. So it's Rutgers Foundation.
But if they get to the foundation page, it'll show you have like an event link there, an event link.
I assume it does.
All right, let me try it out.
Okay, see, but I know it has a / and it said meet the chancellor. That's how I get to it.
Edward, so while we have you on, I'm sure you heard the news by now of the teachers in East Orange being laid off.
I did.
Did you and your colleagues have any discussion? Do you, have any thoughts about that?
You know what? It's tragic, and it's sad because now the people that occupy the positions of leaderships in the various school districts, the superintendent, the assistant superintendents, all of these leadership positions, these are Black and brown folk. And they're, I don't want to be blatant, or I don't want to be crude, But it seems like they're out for money.
Black educator with a real perspective. Make it plain.
It appears that they're out for money grab. That's what it appears. They don't appear to have the interest of the students at heart. And then we wonder why the students can't read and write. They can't articulate themselves. They can't express what's inside of them. It's because the leadership doesn't have their best interests at heart. The leadership is trying to maneuver and trying to line their pockets and be in the presence of influence and all of this stuff. They're not thinking about educating the next generation. That's our most precious gift, is the next generation. And they're not thinking about that. They're too busy stuffing their pockets with the $10 million that's missing in East Orange. But that story plays itself out in Irvington. That story plays itself out in Orange. It plays itself out in Newark. It's over, and the ones that are hurt the most are our
students.
People.
Yeah,
that's the ones that are hurt the most.
That's
you
right.
know,
all
so
that plays out in our street.
It's upsetting, but I'm not surprised that it did happen. And the only way that it's going to change is through organized efforts of the people and the parents.
Right.
You know, the parents have to see that the game that's going on. They have to put down their cell phones, because too many of the parents are locked into their cell phones and all that other nonsense, and they're not paying attention. But we can't continue to exist like this, because generations are being lost.
Right. And I always think of the schools as a safe, safe place, safety zone. So if you're leaving chaos and coming to chaos, like, where do they get to a point where they can just,
They don't get it. They never get there. And then when they do realize something, it's too late. Right. You know, they're 30 years old or 40 years old. They've been through all kind of abuse. They may have the scars of life are on them, and now it becomes even that much harder to try to correct their lives. It's too late. We can't let them get to that point. That's the whole reason why I became an educator. Mm-hmm. Was I wanted to try to influence the young before it was too late.
They say for young men, it's that sixth to eighth grade is a very pivotal moment for them, and that's very important. Zaid, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. Go ahead, Zaid.
No, I just wanted you to tell, contribute your own story to this kind of conversation, right? Folks should know what the Boss Alumni Association is, right? Yes. We want to know your story. You're a math teacher, right?
Yes, indeed.
We ain't got but like 3 black male math teachers in the damn country, right? That's a story, right?
It's a little bit more than that.
Boss story. Tell us that real quick.
All right. BOSA was founded in 2008. The whole genesis of BOSA, the Alumni Association, was we saw that the matriculation rates of Black students was low. So we decided to create an organization that would advocate for increased enrollment once again, increased retention, increased graduation rates. And that's what we've been doing since 2008. We've been in the ear of the different chancellors. There was one other chancellor. Her name was Nancy Cantor. She was a small woman, but she was a powerful woman. She had quite a vision.
Right.
And she was a white Jewish woman at that. But Nancy, for whatever reason, she knew that Rutgers Newark had to be an institution that was, she would say, of Newark, not just in Newark. Mm-hmm. So she knew that she needed to open the doors even wider to bring in that talented group of high school students from the greater Newark area cultivate them, develop them, have them graduate, and in turn become of service to the community. She knew that, and ironically, I'm going to take a slight departure. Then maybe I could get back on. The new president of Rutgers, Jonathan Holloway, for whatever reason, did not renew her contract. Right? I don't know what that was about behind the scenes. I'm sorry. Say it again, Isaiah.
We would all like to know.
Yeah, yeah. So, in the end, so her term was not renewed, so she had to pursue her career somewhere else. In her place walks in Dr. Jeffrey Robinson, which is a blessing. Maybe, I don't know, in disguise or whatever the term may be. But Dr. Robinson is cut from the same cloth as Nancy Cantor, because Nancy Cantor picked Jeffrey Robinson to be a part of her executive team. So it's still the same thread that we're dealing with. And that's why we want to support Dr. Robinson in all his efforts. He has a vision, as I said, of where he wants to take Rutgers Newark and how Rutgers Newark can help the greater Newark community and our people. So we want to help do that.
I put the link in so you can run it across so they can see it. It's the last.
Okay, yeah. That looks good.
Good.
And so
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And is it if students who are in our community, like I'm born and raised in Orange, and some students don't want to go, and they're thinking about Rutgers, are there any incentives that they should look at? Why Rutgers Newark? They should consider, or why should they consider Rutgers, not necessarily Rutgers Newark?
Yeah. I would tell them consider Rutgers Newark because then they don't have to. Well, Rutgers Newark does have dorms. But it's not as expensive as Rutgers, New Brunswick, because we're dealing with money matters, right? So families don't have that kind of income, to pay for the room and board, the tuition, and then all of the other stuff that comes along with a college life. It's very expensive, and it's not getting cheaper. So the best buy for their money is Rutgers Newark, where you will get a quality education at a reasonable cost. And one thing about Rutgers Newark, as opposed to Rutgers New Brunswick, Rutgers Newark is very revolutionary. As I said, that's where the Conklin Hall takeover took place on the Newark campus. So Rutgers Newark always had this kind of revolutionary spirit. So we need to bring in more of that like mind, young people that have that same revolutionary spirit, and let's commence the revolution.
And you got a heck of a roll call. You had Supreme Court Justice.
Yes,
Supreme
indeed.
Court Justice. She was a teacher with the women's program.
Yes, indeed.
That was You said you have a heck of a roll call. My mother went to Essex County College when it was on Clinton downtown, and I remember her coming to the new building. Once it was built, and during those times, the strides that were being made with all the different women, like that was. She came through a program called Project Deep, and she had not finished her diploma, so she was able to get her high school and her bachelor's degree, and she eventually went on to become a social worker in Essex County. But during those days, and my godmother worked for the Wise Woman program, there was a lot going on down in Newark, and there are some stories to be told. So
yes, indeed. So there's a rich history there.
Yes, it is.
We're just trying to continue it. That's all we want to do, trying to continue it. Move our people forward.
When you're doing this work, and when you're walking around on the campus of Newark, Rutgers Newark, or if you're down in New Brunswick, is there a hip hop artist, individual, or group that you listen to, or have you ever stepped to a student and give him some rap lyrics and they surprised them that you
know
can?
What? You know what? I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm not really even though I'm on a hip hop show, I'm not really a hip hop fan. I'm more of I love jazz. I love I love house music.
Oh yeah, how New Jersey
Love,
North sound. Yes.
Afro beat.
Hmm.
I love reggae, of course. So when you press me for hip hop, I mean, I got to go. If I'm going to do, I don't know if they fit in the category, but Last Poets, I don't know.
Oh
Is that what?
yes, most definitely, yes.
Okay, all right.
I thought you was gonna do the Sugar Hill Gang.
Okay, okay,
But
okay.
who's the? I always can. I've never can remember that there's a professor who taught jazz at Newark. Tell me his name. Who's the professor? He was there for a while and he taught jazz.
There's Winborn. He's the center. He heads the center of
Let's do the
jazz.
jazz stuff.
Yeah,
What'd you
jazz.
say?
I think his last name is Winborn. I think.
No, that's not who I'm thinking of. This is a tall, light
Tall
skinned.
guy.
Hmm. I can't
Okay.
think of his name, but he did. I mean, he was there like in the 70s and 80s when my brother was
Oh,
there. But
okay.
he taught a good jazz
Newark or New Brunswick?
in Newark, Rutgers, Newark.
Because Newark does have a stellar jazz program.
You muted
It does
yourself.
have one of the stellar jazz programs, though.
Yeah.
So
Indeed.
yeah.
When I was on campus, I had a jazz radio show.
See that?
We got to get the campus to connect with the larger media order that is New York City in
Yes,
ways that
indeed.
some of our neighboring schools do. That's an argument I've been having with Rutgers North for over 40 years.
All right, let's continue it.
Yes.
Let's continue it. Because Dr. Robinson needs to know this.
100%.
Try to make this happen. Try to make it happen.
All right, y'all. So it's been.
So Ed, I'm gonna try to find it. I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, got you.
It was an honor being on your show. I thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
We definitely want to invite Brother Robinson on the show. So
yes, I tried to get him too, but he's so busy. But I'll tell him again that you guys want to meet him and want to have him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Okay.
All right, brother. Thank you for coming through, man.
Thank you, sir.
Say that date one more time.
October 24th, Express Newark. It's called the Bossa 2024 Scholarship Fundraiser and Evening with Jeffrey Robinson.
And Ed, we've got the link there, so if you can post it on the All Politics or local page, and people can
do that.
see. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Dr. Robinson is now the new chancellor for the school.
He's the interim chancellor. Yes, he is.
Intern, but
it's going to be a lot of, because the current president, he's resigning, so it's going to be a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Right.
Okay.
So, but right now, Dr. Robinson is there, and we want to support him.
All right, sounds good, my brother. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. We've come to another end of the show. So we want to obviously, thank all of our guests. We thank the mayor for coming through to do the mayor's forum. Had a real good conversation with him. And Zaid, you want to thank the other folks for coming through with Dhouruba?
Right. Dhouruba was huge. It was a long time trying to get him. And of course, we were struggling with that connect with him being on the train, but we still got a lot out of him. TJ Whitaker, one of our master educators and one of Dhouruba's favorite Cubs. It was good to have them on together. That meant a lot to both of them, right? To be sure. And we had that heavy segment around police brutality. Yasmin dropped off and didn't get the chance to get back on. But Yasmin Lancaster, I just want to put a pin in the fact that she is the cousin of Nicholas Haywood Jr. Nicholas Haywood Jr. was the child that got killed in Brooklyn back in 1994. Very similar to Tamir Rice and whatnot. And she's trying to come on now. We closing the show. Right, but she's got a play coming up that we want to lift up. And We got
She's
it.
whispering. She's whispering.
We better make that announcement, Zai.
Yeah, I don't even she can realize she's on. I don't think she hears us. Yasmin, could you hear us? Yeah, I don't even think she can hear us. But yeah, she's a cousin of Nicholas Haywood Jr. and the cousin of Nicholas Haywood Sr. I've been all around the country with Nick Haywood Sr. with Daddy on the question of police brutality. Art Blakey, the second, the son of Art Blakey for his sister Nicole, Marissa Barrera for her brother Michael, and Kim and Kimberly Vaughn for Muhammad Isafan. All of those all those folks in all of their different spaces are going to be doing actions for October 22nd, the National Day of Action Against Police Brutality. We will have an action in Newark starting at the FOP office at 51 Rector Street. Drew Washington and his family will be in Jersey City with them at 4:30. They're going to start off at the Public Safety Center on MLK Boulevard in Jersey City. They're going to march to City Hall. So we got it going on locally too, right? So and then finally, Brother Edward Nkosi from the Black Organization of Student Alumni Association for the gathering that they're going to be hosting on the 24th at the Express Newark Center. Good show. It's been a good show.
Yep. Any final words, Donna?
No. Nope. Let's just nope. No. Everybody have a wonderful week and enjoy this beautiful weather. It's gonna be 70 again. Let's get out and take a walk.
Yep. Well, listen, y'all, we thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Of course, if it's Friday, it's time for All Politics are Local. So we'll catch you guys next Friday, as my brother Zaid like to say. We'll catch him where, Zaid?
We'll see you in the whirlwind.
We'll catch y'all in the whirlwind.
And you don't stop.